There are some jobs you just have to do to survive. But trust me, life is too short to simply survive. Find something you love, and the heart will find a way. Once the heart loves it, the mind will find a route to making it happen. So do what you love. Do what you love, and you will not have to work for even one more day. Business is brought to you by ADB. We have great news for you. If you are an existing customer, we can give you better terms for your loan. Give actually a better loan, reduce interest rate, extend your repayment period, and maintain your monthly repayment amount and more. Call us on 05938448898. ADB, truly agric and more. Newspaper Reviews next brought to you by Total Energies Marketing Ghana PLC. We are committed to delivering quality and innovative products and services that enhances customer experience because we know that our success depends on you. With great pride, we dedicate our latest accolade, CIMG Hall of Famer Petroleum, to our cherished customers for your unwavering trust and loyalty to the Total Energies brand. All right, so we're going to a newspaper review. My name is Bernard Avle, by the way. I'm here with Kukui Hansen. Hello, Kukui.
Good morning, Bernardino.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Despite the hazy, dusty air.
Yeah, I was wondering what's going on.
I like the hazy part. The dusty part I don't like.
You like the hazy, but not the dusty.
Yeah.
The air no good.
And it's not just harmattan.
No, there's
more.
The air is dirty.
Apparently, the EPA and the Ghana Met announced that we should even wear masks, and we should limit outdoor activities.
Seriously.
So I hope school teachers are listening. Today, no PE, please.
Yeah, we're not. Abroad they do this very well.
Yeah.
They, especially during the season where there's a lot of pollen.
Yes.
They'll give you a pollen index, so
Yes.
people who have allergies,
Yeah.
will be well armed because it's serious.
Yeah. So if you can arm your children with masks today, let them wear the mask to school. If there's no need to go play football, they should read in the library. They should be indoors. No, seriously.
No, I agree with you.
Because you're right. The weather is one of the most important things, yet we downplay it so much. We limited the weather to Jones Nyakotekwa. Good evening, welcome to the weather at 8:00. Charlie, it has to change. So indeed, the daily graphic, I think, leads with weather.
Yeah.
What are they saying?
No, there will be a story.
That's their main story.
Yes, I know there's a story on that. But I was just asking you whether you watched the vetting yesterday as well.
Oh, of course I'll watch it. Why wouldn't I want to watch it?
Air pollution alert. Put on mask, restrict outdoor events. EPA GMET caution public. Comes with a photo of a mask wearing Dr. Henry Kokofu, Executive Director of the Environmental Protection Agency. On the front page of the paper as well, MIF, and that's headed by Edward Nanaya Kranting. They say they've grown their assets from 1.7 billion to 3.2 billion Ghana cedis in 12 months. Okay. Pantine Hospital owes 2.8 million Ghana cedis to 25 suppliers. And then finally, Katie Hammond, he supports cut in imports. So we'll get to more details on that later.
All right, the Ghanaian Times front page. Illegal installation of new Boku Naba. Tension mounts in Nalerigu. An attempt to arrest Mamprugo overlord and kingmakers foiled. Youth go on rampage and destroy property. Also, drill ship saga. I did nothing wrong. Katie Hammond rebuffs allegations and says he saved the state money. Also, DDEP is not a panacea for restoration of broken economy. This is Dr. Dufour speaking. And Made in Emergency Life-Saving Skills Training is underway in Kumasi. The Elijah Foundation is introducing a hands-on technique for CPR. All of that is in the Ghanaian Times. And there's a Japanese team in Ghana to help clean our Galamsey polluted rivers.
Is it?
That's what the back page of the Ghanaian Times is telling us.
A Japanese team to help clean. All right.
All right, then. Let me take you to I have 3 business papers, Bernard. So I'll start with the business analyst this morning. New vehicle registrations by DVLA declined by 57%. That's incredible, coming from the Bank of Ghana.
Between which when and when?
We'll try and get some details on that. Consumer spending records positive growth in November, but construction sector activities decline. Instagram and Facebook to get paid for verification. We've been following that on the tech and social media trends. And Kofi Amoabi on the front page of the paper as well. Collapsing UT Bank was a wrong decision.
All right, the final newspaper. Foreign trips will not be approved if plans are not submitted as directed. This is coming from Chief of Staff, Mr. Akosua Freema Opare Osei. Also, broader consultations are ongoing to fix the date for MPP primaries, coming from Chairman Stephen Tim. 4,432 free SHS placement complaints have been resolved.
Amen.
And Alan is a son of Dambai, says the Chief of Dambai.
All right,
then let me take you to Graphic Business's front page. No dividend for bank shareholders. DDEP erodes profits. That's the big story on their front page. Government to pay coupons on mature domestic bonds. Asset declaration law shielding corrupt public officers.
The New Crusading Guide front page, couple of headlines. Ghana's economy will thrive through industrialization. This is from Trade Minister nominee Katie Hammond. Also, good news for Ghana. Ecobank Kenya has appointed Josephine Annan Ankoma as their new MD.
So congratulations to her.
Congratulations to her. And more stories on the front page of the New Crusading.
Finally, from me, Bernard, the front page of the BNFT, Ghana Stock Exchange to bounce back with 12% return. Food security balance sheet worsens. That's coming from the agri sector. I'll be focusing on that in a bit. And then unemployment, ILO boss comment.
Brian the Champion exclaims after intense grilling by minority leader.
He said, but you are my friend.
Hey, Ato. I mean, I agree, me say. ASEPA files criminal complaint against Reverend Kosi Boateng. Lots of stories this morning on citynewsroom.com, I should tell you. For example, North Chiefs calling Akufo-Addo to provide security for Ablakwa. Also, Brian says, I did not authorize security deployment. Meanwhile, Agboja rebukes Katie. We are not joking here. Answer my questions. So many stories. And then Occupy Ghana demands withdrawal of government secret response on public officers' bail. Now, my journal line is leading with Asabi. I'm opposed to same-sex marriage. Also, soldiers clash with Nalerigu youth in attempt to arrest illegally and skin Boku Naba and Mamprugu overlord. And then Katie Amon laments high rate of importation. City Business News is leading with AFTA, and it says, be strategic about AFTA. Third World Network urges African nations. Meanwhile, Josephine Annan Ankoma is the new MD of EcoBank Kenya. And let's take you global for a second. BBC, new quick trap people under rubble in Turkey. Can you imagine? They haven't finished rescuing the old people. New one. All right. And then Reuters news this morning. Putin set for major Ukraine war speech after Biden walks the street of Kiev. These people, easy. It's just unbelievable. And then if you go to Nigeria, the build-up to election is ongoing with the usual stories, security and currency issues being the lead emphasis. In Africa, 2 million Malagasy in the path of Cyclone Freddy. 2 million. Ooh. This is BBC Africa. Emergency teams are preparing to deal with heavy rains, floods and landslides in 9 regions with, I don't know. And then there's a story here that I thought would interest you guys. Botswana loses a third of its rhinos in 5 years. 1/3 of the rhinos killed by poachers in 5 years. Where do we start, guys? Weather. Let's talk about the weather.
Okay, let me start from the front page of the Daily Graphic then. The Environmental Protection Agency has asked members of the public to start putting on nose masks and also restricts the patronage of outdoor events to prevent health risks associated with air pollution. The caution follows the worsening air quality in the country for the last 2 weeks, which has been described by the agency as hazardous to human health. At a press briefing jointly addressed by the EPA and the Ghana Health Service, and this was with the Deputy Director of Quality Assurance, Dr. Mary Era Mashinyo, and Dr. Henry Kokofu, Executive Director of the EPA. Dr. Kokofu explained that although the harmattan season was not over yet, the quality of air had deteriorated to a nearly hazardous level. He explained that per the EPA's measurement of air quality index, air quality that ranged from 0 to 50 micrograms per cubic meter indicated that the air quality was good for human health, while 51 to 100 micrograms per cubic meter meant the air quality was acceptable with minimal health risk. When the AQI gets to between 201 to 300, it indicates very unhealthy air quality with dire health consequences, while 301 and above indicates hazardous air quality with extremely risky health implications for the entire population.
Us what is causing this poor air quality? And did they confirm that Ghana's air quality was the worst in the world, as was being reported on some portals? Or he did not confirm that?
Well, for a couple of weeks, and according to the context of the story, there have been clouds of dust coupled with blurry, windy weather conditions in the country, with many people attributing it to harmattan. Many people are raising concerns about obstruction of clear vision, teary eyes, breathing difficulties, and other abnormalities associated with the adverse weather conditions. The Ghana Meteor Agency have also spoken about this. In its third harmattan advice released yesterday, the agency said on Wednesday that its satellites detected dust lifted around Chad.
Let me give you two related stories.
Sudan and Niger.
2 related stories. So Accra's air quality has reached hazardous levels, according to IQ's Air Visual. This is Edna Boache's report. That IQ's Air Visual, a real-time air quality information platform, has sounded the alarm that Ghana's air quality is 49.6 times higher than the WHO annual air quality guidelines value. Now, this IQ's Visual attributes this to the high concentration of PM2.5 in Accra's atmosphere. Now, there's then this air quality pollution city rank, where 0 to 50 is good, 51 to 100 is moderate, 101 to 150 is unhealthy for sensitive groups, and then 151 to 200 is unhealthy, 201 to 300 is very unhealthy, and then 301 positive is hazardous. Now, it then gives the list. Ghana is now 389. That is unbelievable. Like, hazardous air quality. We are the worst in that ranking, followed by Delhi, India, 208, Lahore, Pakistan, 185, Dhaka, Bangladesh, 180, and Mumbai. All these places are in like South.
But if we are competing with those places, they're just
It says the current PM2 concentration
Hey.
in Greater Accra is 11 times above the recommended limit given by the WHO. It is believed that the high concentration of PM2.5 in the air has been compounded by the resurgence of the harmattan as a result of regional dust storms pushing into Southern Africa.
Hopefully
we
once
investigate this because it can't. We are not the only people who experience harmattan.
Yeah.
So to have air quality worse than Lahore, than Delhi, than Dhaka, it's crazy.
Serious.
And now, Kokui, just on the pollution issues.
Yeah, on pollution. So on the back page of the Ghanaian Times, there's a Japanese team in town. They're going to help clean our Galamsey polluted rivers. So it's a team of environmental experts from Japan. They're working with their Ghanaian counterparts on Galamsey polluted rivers, which are said to have high density of toxic mercury and is dangerous to our health. The objective of the team is to make the rivers clean and hygienic again using micro-nano bubble, unique bacteria, and other cleaning technologies. So during their stay, the Japanese will collaborate with the Noguchi Memorial Institute and they'll conduct further tests to ascertain the toxicity of the rivers. The Chief of Water and Soil Environment Division of the Meiho Engineering Incorporated, Atsushi Umeda, and Professor Tomihisa Ota
Thank you.
of the Gifu University in Tokyo were the first to arrive. Now, they'll be around for 2 weeks. The Japan-based Meiho Engineering is experienced in this kind of thing, environmental restoration and providing
That's not the
solutions to
face I see there.
in the middle, yes.
Yeah, Mr. Japan. Because see Japan.
Okay.
Yes,
Now,
it is.
since we are dealing with the East, quick story. Ghana to engage China for possible debt relief. So Japan is cleaning up our waters. China is helping clear our debt. And the
Helping
story,
or we are hoping they will help.
Okay, that's a good point. We are hoping. So the finance minister says Ghana is going to engage China for possible debt cancellation. And this story is part of the external debt restructuring. Mr. Foriata said negotiations with China are important because they hold the majority of the external bonds. Speaking to Citi News, the finance minister said he will lead the delegation to China to plead for debt cancellation. He says the big elephant in the room is China. We'll be visiting China by the end of the week to really discuss how they come to the envelope. I just hope they go in a moderate way with a small team. Because you're going to ask for debt relief, you must go
High-powered.
No, they should
When
not.
Ghana we say high-powered, it means a big...
No, he didn't say hyper. He said already a delegation. He probably can even go with the secretary. He can even call them on phone.
Oh, he has
He has
to
to
go.
go.
He has to go.
Well,
So they'll do Ni-hao and
the
things.
trip will have to be approved according to the chief of staff.
Why?
That's in the finder. The foreign trips will not be approved unless they come with the relevant documents and unless they are approved. So the chief of staff at the office of the president, Mrs. Akosua Frema Oseo Pari, has warned heads of all public entities that without the submission of their 2023 foreign travel plans to her office, requests for such travel will not be approved. The plan must be submitted with relevant documents. Only essential travel will be approved. Invitation is not an obligation to attend. She pointed out that the fact that you're invited somewhere doesn't mean you have to go. She circulated this to all ministers, regional ministers, metro, municipal and district assemblies, blah, 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 heads of government agencies and heads of state-owned enterprises.
All right.
Oh,
And
Ken's trip is approved.
no foreign travel for board members.
Okay, let's move to
Parliament,
the parliamentary
where on
vetting.
page 13 of the Daily Graphic, KT Hammond supports cuts in imports. The Trade and Industry Minister designate KT Hammond has thrown his weight behind Cabinet's decision to curtail the importation of a number of foreign goods as a measure to promote the manufacture and consumption of locally made ones. He said he felt scandalized to see how the importation of items such as poultry, rice, beverages, palm oil, second-hand vehicles and clothing were having a terrible effect on the city and the country's foreign exchange. Quote, Cabinet has already put in place a committee since October last year to specifically cut down the importation of some 50 foreign goods to 20 items, and this will save the economy.
I like how the nominees expressed angst about things that annoys all of us. I hope that they translate that into action. But example was also upset that we were importing onion from Niger. He
But
says
you are
Niger
very
is-
hopeful.
Niger is half desert and half grassland. How can they be doing better at agri? So it's good when they go, they are like, Charlie, this is not... I hope when they enter the ministry, they don't change the attack because of the interest. Because you see, it's not about the intentions. It's about the interest that prevents you from doing what you have to do. Because when you listen to vettings of previous ministers, they've all said the same thing. So the proof of the pudding is in the eating.
Yes.
Stay with the vetting for me.
Yeah, I'm dealing with Brian here, and you have a couple of stories
Yes,
as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so when he took his turn, the nominee for the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, Brian Achampong, said no one was killed during the January 31, 2019 by-election at the Yawasu West Augustus. They spent quite a bit of time on that. Mr. Achampong told the committee that when given the nod, he would, in the next 2 years, focus on improved seeds to increase food yield. He said he would also make agric more attractive to the youth by focusing on the land tenure system and the availability of capital.
The one that I found interesting was, hey, Atu, I'm in a grilling midday. How is that? Is it? The minister for Food and Agriculture, by the chapel, was shocked to the marrow after he was seriously interrogated by minority leader Dr. Kaselatu Fosin, whom he considered a friend. Mr. Champon, who thought his friendship with the minority leader would save him from being grilled when he appeared before the committee, had his hopes dashed. While he was receiving punches from the minority leader, he exclaimed, Atu, you are my friend. Today you don't trust me. Hey, Atu, you should be testifying of my credibility. In response, Dr. Atu Fosin, who is also MP for Ejimanku Enyanisiam, in the central, said he was only doing his job as expected of him by Ghanaians. I'm happy a politician understands that when a journalist is grilling you, it's because he's doing his job. So you see how Atu is telling Brian that he's doing his work. When Richiska Umaru Sanda is doing his work, they shouldn't be telling your supporters that he's anti-something or anti-something. You see how it is? You are sitting in parliament saying that you are doing it for the people. When we journalists do it, you say, oh, this person, we are against. You see how it is? Good morning.
Well, speaking of the minority, they are asking for ministers in government to be reduced from 86 to 65. Right. They've called on the president to reduce the number of his ministers. Addressing a news conference in parliament yesterday, the minority leader, Dr. Kaselatu Fosin, said the president must merge ministries such as information and communication, transport and railways, chieftaincy and tourism, sanitation and local government to help cut down on the number of ministers. They also called for the immediate reduction in the number of political appointees at the office of the president, as well as the immediate scrapping of all amorphous creations and waste pipe job for the boys appointments since the assumption of office of President Kufuor in 2017.
Pipe job appointments.
That's how they coined
it. A rather worrying story on page 2 of the BNFT. First, security balance sheet worsens. Photo of Anthony Msela Morrison, who is the CEO of the Ghana's the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana. According to him, the country's food security balance sheet has hit negative 2%. Data from the CAG indicates that the country's food importation bill has jumped to be in excess of $5 billion per annum. They attributed the dwindling domestic production of food items to the lack of commitment by the government over the last 2 decades, explaining that spending on agric or food production over the period has been inadequate and in most cases misdirected.
I wanted to take you into another story of interest to you this morning. This is CitiNewsroom.com, and this has to do with gold for oil. We've taken delivery of another 40k tons. So I don't know if you know this. So
another 40 million.
Yes, Ghana has taken delivery of the second consignment of fuel under the Go for Oil policy. The 40,000 metric tons of oil arrived at Tema Port Sunday, February 19, bringing to 80,000 tons the total amount of fuel received. MD of Boss and Provincial last week revealed that Ghana would take delivery of four separate gasoline cargoes by end of February, and the shipment to get up to 155,000 tons.
So is this petrol or diesel?
I think it's still diesel.
So it's only diesel they are bringing in now?
I don't know.
Okay.
The next shipment will arrive on Sunday, February 19. It's 35,000 tons of gasoline, which is diesel. The following week, another 40,000 will arrive.
So
followed
diesel.
by another 40,000. Okay. So I think we're focused on diesel. Don't forget, diesel has been a bit more expensive than petrol. Now, Dr. Wate, Energy Minister, on Friday assured that his ministry will keenly monitor every step in the Go for Oil program and the value chain.
Now, the editorial in the Finder this morning is interesting. Did you know that International Mother Language Day is being celebrated? What's your mother language? Like, is it the language?
Ever.
Really? Is it the language?
The language that you were first trained with when you were born.
Okay.
So presumably the language your mom spoke to you.
Presumably, right?
Yes.
I think in my case it's different then. Well, no,
your mother tongue is Ga. Because your mother is Ga. So that's the language
She's
you speak.
part.
What language do you speak in the house?
Ga and English.
With your mother, Ga?
With both my parents.
The concept of mother tongue does not include English.
Yes.
English is foreigner language.
But, okay, well, we're celebrating that, but we're talking about local language in the education system. So if you pick up the Finder today, they've done a nice editorial on this. There are over 60 distinct languages in Ghana, but 15 of these are examinable in schools, which means we're not doing enough to preserve the rest of them. So they're talking about the fact that we need to do more to preserve more of our languages. Not all of the indigenous languages in Ghana have been reduced into writing, so we lack the requisite manpower to carry out this arduous but important task of making all indigenous languages examinable. Now, they also talk about the fact that GES is partially advocating for pupils from KG to lower primary to be instructed in their respective indigenous language dominant in that community.
Let me give you.
Then they gradually come in
from
upper primary with
clue
English.
to mastering your mother tongue.
Yeah.
So if your mother tongue is Ga, mine is Ebe. Get an Ebe Bible and Ebe hymn book, and every day read and sing like 4 hymns. You will get, because you see the hymns have very deep
It's
words.
true.
if you you can actually use a hymn book to study your mother tongue.
You're right.
I'm telling you.
You're right.
Because you know a lot of the English the translations, and the translations are very rich.
Very
if you do that for
rich.
1 year, you'll be flowing. You can even become a linguist.
You're so right.
Godfrey, back to graphic business.
Yes, let's talk money. No dividend for bank shareholders. Story by Maxola Kalari Adombila. According to the story, if you are a shareholder in a bank, the Bank of Ghana has directed all 23 banks to suspend such payments until a time when the situation stabilizes. In a January 5, 2023 letter to the Ghana Association of Banks, the central bank said banks must, quote, suspend the declaration and payment of dividends and other distributions to shareholders effective December 31, 2022. Now, on page 3 of the same paper, it talks about asset declaration. And a seasoned auditor and chartered accountant, Dr. Valentin Kwesi-Mensah, has called for a comprehensive review of the asset declaration regime to make it more effective and a real deterrent to corruption and corrupt practice. Quote, it is not effective in the prevention of corruption or abuse of office. If anybody amasses wealth, it is so difficult for it to be detected. He was speaking to other
Let's go to some politics where Alan is campaigning, and on City Newsroom, 4 labor unions, or 4 unions, I'm not sure they're labor unions, have petitioned Mama to contest the next election. So, I didn't know these groups. The Motor Riders Union, the True Drivers Union, the Concerned Drivers Union, and the Aboso Kind Spare Parts Association. That we know. They are petitioning for President John Mahama, urging him to contest for the presidency in 2024. They believe President Mahama will be the best leader to address the country's recent economic challenges if elected. Okay. Now, Alan is also campaigning, and he's getting some endorsement
region
from chiefs.
Yeah, he's the region delegates.
Yeah, but I wanted to do a quick story from the Northeast region, where soldiers clash with Nalerigu youth in attempt to arrest illegally skinned Boku Naba and the Mamprugu overlord. Keep an eye on this story. Story on myjournline.com. Armed soldiers deployed to Nalerigu to arrest and purportedly enskin Boku Naba and the overlord of Mamprugu clashed with the youth of the town at midnight. Attempts by soldiers followed a warrant issued by the High Court in Bogatanga for the arrest of the 2 traditional leaders for their involvement in the enskinment of a new chief on Wednesday. In a press release issued by the Information Ministry on February 15, the government said the act is a national security violation.
Well, the youth yesterday on the back page of the Daily Graphic, they blocked all major roads in the region, including the Waliwali section of the main Tamale-Bolga highway, creating heavy vehicular traffic on the Kuas Trunk Road. They burned ties to register their displeasure at the action of the military. Police intervention to quell the virtual riots proved futile as their personnel were chased away by the agitated youths.
We'll give you more on this story later.
Very quickly before we go, just something else great about Christian Achu. Crime Check Foundation is talking about the fact that he freed over 150 prisoners through his kindness. He personally reached out to them, according to the director of that organization. He said Christian Achu personally contacted me to help and support the Crime Check Foundation. He helped to free over 150 people. He hasn't forgotten his humble beginnings, and many of those prisoners were there for petty offenses like stealing bananas. They couldn't pay their fines and be bailed. Christian Achu stepped in to do that for them, and he said he was a unique person and he was an icon for everyone.
All right, a couple of international stories for your perusal. New quakes trap people under rubble in Turkey. This is just unbelievable.
Can't catch a break.
Rescuers are once again searching for people trapped under rubble in Turkey after 2 new earthquakes hit the country, killing at least 3 people. Tremors of 6.5 and 5.8 magnitude struck in the southeast near the border with Syria, where massive quakes devastated both countries on February 6th. Now, the earlier quake has so far killed 44,000 people, according to BBC, in the 2 countries, with tens of thousands of people left homeless. Buildings weakened by those tremors collapsed in both countries on Monday. Then, still on issues of emergencies, Madagascar is in the pathway of a tropical cyclone called Freddy. And we're told over 2 million people are at risk. And the authorities in the country say that at least 2 million people will be affected once Cyclone Freddy makes landfall in the eastern part of the country. Experts from the National Bureau of Risk and Catastrophes have predicted that the cyclones will hit 9 regions in the country. Emergency teams are preparing to deal with heavy rains, floods, and even landslides in areas that will be affected.
And some of the scariest things I've ever faced: a typhoon. A cyclone.
Where?
I don't even know which is.
I lived on Typhoon Central.
I wanted to ask
when I was in China. Like the island is just Typhoon Central.
A question about that. You know, typhoon, cyclone, tornadoes.
Yeah.
I think which is the worst.
I don't know, but it depends on where you live. But the last time there was a typhoon where I lived, airplanes and things were held
I
all
think
over the
typhoon
place.
is more in the Southeast Asia, and then cyclones are more tropical. Yeah, and then there's
the typhoon is coming. You board your.
and I think that the
windows.
tsunami is when the
Yeah,
tsunami
the
is when an
sea,
earthquake
like,
happens on the sea,
Yeah.
and then the water comes on land. Wow.
We've been very blessed in this country.
Hey, Ato.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show.
Did you upheld the oath?
Without more.
I did not hear you. Can you repeat that again?
Without more.
On a hindsight, what would you say about your involvement in the deployment of armed NPP party vigilantes in a police vehicle to brutalize and injure innocent Ghanaians at La Baoleshi during the Ayawaso West Wagon by-elections?
Mr. Chairman, there's no factual basis to that question and no proof whatsoever to the question so posed.
Were you involved in the deployment of armed party vigilantes at Ayawaso West Wagon by-elections?
Please do well to visit any MTN service center today to get your biometric details captured. If you do not see your B cup with the word yes by it, let's work together to enable you use your MTN number. Michael Obodo is here with the news. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning and hello and welcome to the breakfast edition of Citi Business News, proudly brought to you by MTN Goil and powered by your most comprehensive business news website, citibusinessnews.com. Coming up, Minister for Food and Agriculture nominee Brian Achampong calls for the scrapping of subsidies on fertilizers, arguing that it costs government huge sums of money. Also, Food and Beverages Association of Ghana calls for investment in the local production of industrial machinery to reduce demand for forex for the importation of such equipment. Details of our stories now. Minister of Food and Agriculture nominee Brian Achampong is advocating for the government to stop subsidizing fertilizers for farmers across the country. According to the MP for the Ebetifi constituency, giving out fertilizers for farmers on a large scale comes at a huge cost to government, which does not benefit the country in the long run. Brian Achampong was speaking during his vetting in Parliament on Monday.
I think the scales of our public purse, when not adjusted properly, will lead to an imbalance elsewhere. I am not in favor of 100% subsidy when it comes to fertilizer. We can't continue on that tangent. In fact, if you do, what are you trying to achieve? We might as well share the money for Ghanaians to go and buy their expensive food on the market, because when you pump that much fertilizer into the system, the farmers in our neighboring countries are the ones that are going to benefit, because everything is going to be smuggled out. And so zero coupon fertilizer is not the way to go. However, we can look at, for example, if we had, when I was at Pesek, Legon, we had a school farm, I think where the IPS is, and the school farm was feeding us with our basic vegetables once in a while. We get some good chicken from there. If we had programs like that, and government wants to subsidize the production of vegetables in schools and wants to contribute fertilizer for that, then we can understand. But on a mass scale, as giving fertilizer to Ghanaian farmers, I don't think is the way to go.
Brian Achampong is the minister nominee for Food and Agriculture. Now, the Ghana Agricultural Workers Union, GAO, is pushing for the development of policies to ensure what it terms smart farming advantages boost the efficiency of large-scale farming in the country. According to the union, the traditional way of farming is enhanced through technology and data, resulting in a transformation that enhances efficiency, predictability, and offers a positive environmental impact. This comes on the back of comments by former President John Mahama that he should have placed tractors for farmers in the pool and given them to an expert to provide the services rather than buy the tractors for farmers. General Secretary of GAU, Edward Karewe, has been reacting to the issue.
One of the things about Ghana's development policy, one of the measures to show whether or not we are growing is that everybody wants to be independent. When you come to farmers need services. What do they need? They need tractor services. They need combined services. They need other services. Why must the farmer necessarily struggle to spend all his money to buy a combined harvester? And when he will not put it into maximum use. He will put it into use though, but not maximum use. So if it is the combined harvester services that you use, which is mostly at the point of harvest of the rice, then why should he keep a combined harvester for the period that he's not even using it? So someone somewhere should be able to keep it, and then at the time that they need it, then you simply give them the services. I think this is the way to go, and it will reduce costs, and then those who have not been able to buy it, they will now use that money to expand their farms.
General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union, GAO, Edward Karewe. Now, the Food and Beverage Association of Ghana is urging the government to allocate the funds required for industrial machinery research and production in order to reduce the country's need for foreign exchange for the importation of such technology. The local currency is struggling against major trading currencies due to the excessive demand for forex in a highly import-driven economy. Samuel Agre, the association's secretary, thinks resolving this issue might benefit the economy and guarantee that local businesses have access to more affordable equipment to increase their output. He addressed the media during the Agritech West Africa with Food and Beverage Ghana 2023 launch.
We want to see a country that is producing its own technology to fast-track the development or the growth that we want. We have our universities there. I'm not seeing enough being done in that area. We have our polytechnics over there. We are not seeing much being done by these graduates that are churning out from these facilities. And therefore, if we want to move forward, these are the areas that we need to empower them for them to be able to come up with more research to produce the kind of machines that will drive our economy. Sometimes we need not to bring from outside, but we don't have it. We are not researching into technology. And so we need to put money in that area. As a government, if you want to grow, you can give yourself a challenge by challenging these universities to develop the kind of machines that you want. If they are researching into it, we can really get what we want as a country to move forward. Because anytime that we import, the hard-earned currency that we are looking for is what we have to use to import these machineries.
Secretary of the Food and Beverage Association of Ghana, Samuel Agre. Away from that, think tank Third World Network Africa is urging African leaders to develop strategies that will move the continent away from the economic challenges that are confronted by leveraging on the African Continental Free Trade Area. The think tank explains that the lack of political will to execute the already discussed policies has delayed maximizing the continent's full potentials. Speaking on the sidelines of the Africa-wide consultative seminar on the After in Accra, Programs Manager of Third World Network Africa, Tete Homeku Ajay, urged policymakers to move away from the rhetorics and commit to implementation.
The fact that in the middle of August 2022, only 8 countries have started piloting the trade shows that Africa was not ready to trade. They talked that we've launched a trade, but they're not ready. Key agreements that have to be in place for all the countries to trade are still not in place. For instance, the agreements on some part of rules of origin that are necessary for trading goods are not yet ready. Secondly, even services are not ready. Now, when it comes to Ghana and the Secretariat, I think that Ghanaians will like to kind of, overhype ourselves. I think the problem is that Ghana rushed to host the Secretariat. Hosting the Secretariat does not bring you anything. It can create a few jobs. If you really, really want to benefit from the ACFTA, it's not the Secretariat which is the important thing. It's not Ghana. We have got policies in place to promote domestic industry, to promote domestic farming, to promote domestic services so that we can export to the other African countries. The Ghana government ratified the ACFTA long before it began to talk about its domestic strategy. So we should get our government back and say, hey, listen, what is your strategy to pull your domestic producers?
That was the program's manager of Third World Network Africa, Tete Humeko Ajay. Now, EcoBank Transnational Incorporated has appointed Ghanaian career banker Josephine Annan Ankoma as regional executive for Central, Eastern and Southern Africa, CESA, and Managing Director of EcoBank Kenya. Her appointment has since received clearance from the Central Bank of Kenya. Mrs. Annan Ankoma leaves her role as EcoBank Executive Commercial Banking. She has served the bank for the past 30 years in various capacities and replaces Mr. Chik Travali, who retired at the end of 2022 after attaining the mandatory retirement age of 60 years in accordance with EcoBank Group policy. Josephine Annan Ankoma will be responsible for leading and growing the bank's business in Kenya and the West Sessa region, constituting 18 out of 33 EcoBank affiliates and one representative office. Josephine, who is a fellow of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, holds an MBA in Finance and a Bachelor's of Arts in Economics and Sociology, both from the University of Ghana. Now, on the interbank foreign exchange market, where banks trade amongst themselves, the dollar remained and is selling at 10 cedis 81 pesos. The British pound also remained unchanged and is selling at 12 cedis 9 pesos. The euro remained unchanged and is selling at 11 cedis 5 pesos. However, at some forex bureaus in the capital, the dollar is selling for 12 cedis 80 pesos, while the British pound is selling for 15 cedis 20 pesos and the euro for 13 cedis 40 pesos. Let's now join Mark Jordan Scanate of DataBank for updates on the bonds market.
At last Friday's money market auction, the Ghanaian Treasury exceeded its auction target by 61.9% as it accepted 2.76 billion Ghana cedis out of bid worth 3.11 billion Ghana cedis across the 91-day and the 182-day bills. Yields trended downwards as the 91-day and the 182-day yields declined to 35.67% and 35.72% respectively. The 364-day yield stayed at 35.62%. On the Ghanaian secondary bond market, trading activities slowed 89.1% week on week, with a weekly volume traded of 135.63 million Ghana cedis. The Data Bank Bond Index slipped 0.23% week on week to 81.32 points, accounting for a year-to-date return of 0.07%.
That was Mark Jordan Scanate of DataBank. And that does it for the breakfast edition of City Business News, proudly brought to you by MTN Gold and powered by your most comprehensive business news website, citybusinessnews.com. My name is Michael Obudu. Thank you for listening. Have a good business day. And as always, please stay safe.
Isn't life wonderful when everything worth doing is scheduled? Hitting the stop button on your alarm just in time for your morning jog. That happy moment listening to your baby's heartbeat at the doctor's office. Or an arranged virtual meeting with that big client.
Buy airtime ahead of time with scheduled airtime service on MTN Momo. You can schedule your airtime purchase of any amount, daily, weekly, or monthly by dialing *170# option 3 and follow the process. Or simply dial *170*311# for a superb airtime purchase experience. You enjoy 100% bonus airtime anytime you recharge yourself with MTN Momo. Keep on talking with that 100% feeling. So, what are we doing today?
MTN.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
You see me sit in silence, sipping my liquor, making no link up. I'm picking no calls. This generation, we know they get that. My mind is focused, we know they hear what we show up. But the money there, that be where we there. Chilling like it's a holiday, but we still got
12 minutes past the hour of 7 actually. Where am I running to? 12 minutes past the hour of 7. City Breakfast Show, 97.3 City FM. Kickoff is coming up shortly.
Never they regret. If you suffer, you go get.
A couple of shouts this morning. Josephine Annan Ankoma is now the MD of EcoBank Kenya. That is such wonderful news. I think Ghana is producing some very, very great bankers, and I hope we can use their wisdom to save our economy. Josephine Ankoma worked in EcoBank Ghana, EcoBank Gambia, and she's now been appointed the Managing Director of EcoBank Kenya. It is a very important position. Kenya is a huge economy in Africa, so Josephine Ankoma of Joyful Way Incorporated. Those who know the song, yeah, she sang that song. She's actually led a lot of Joyful Way songs. Backed by her husband Ace Ankoma. So Josephine Ankoma, congratulations for breaking another glass ceiling. And while we're in that area, let me say good morning to Sylvia Inkum. Sylvia Inkum is also one of our bankers doing so well. First National Bank and appointed her as an executive director for corporate investment and banking. Then Abiola, she was UBA Ghana for a long time. She's now the UBA Africa head. So 3 female bankers from the Ghana stables doing amazing things. So what would it be like listening to Josephine Ankoma, Sylvia Inkum, and Abiola? I forget Abiola's surname. Abiola Bewa. Imagine listening to them talking about banking. Not forgetting Abuna Amwa of the Ghana Stock Exchange as well. We have some great bankers, In fact, the MD of Hollard as well. For many years, she was the MD of APSA or Barclays in Ghana. Also doing very, very well in their field. So, solid women in finance. Vivian Kailoko, you know what to do. So, congratulations to Josephine on this appointment. We are so proud of you. Congratulations to Sylvia Inkum as well on your elevation. And to Abiola Bewa on your mastery in the field of banking. Your mastery. Hopefully, the banking hall will not be dominated just by men, but by some fascinating women as well. So good luck to them there. It's 7:15, Citi Breakfast Show. Today is a bit funny. The weather is a bit odd. I woke up with like a blocked nose or something. I don't know what's going on.
The harmattan is doing a comeback, but it also looks like it wants to rain. So
I think the story time is even affecting my mind. So like I'm looking for a mask to wear and things. Sometimes news can give. It's like I woke up and I said, "What's happening to me? What's happening to my nose? Is it I'm reading too much about air pollution?"
It's part of it. I mean, the news about Accra having the worst air pollution I was shocked, but I wasn't shocked. I knew it was bad. I just didn't know we were top of the charts.
We have to deal with this ignominy. Honestly, we have to. Anyway, kickoff is next, brought to you by Shell Fuel Save. We have 3 variants: the Shell V Power, the Fuel Safe Diesel, and the Fuel Safe Super. Now, the triple action formula improves your engine efficiency, prevents deposit buildup, and protects your engine from wear and corrosion for extra clean, extra protection, extra savings, giving you extra kilometers out of your drive. Switch to Shell. And I'm sure you know how beautiful Shell stations are. I always admire how Shell, they seem to get the right location. They're always at the right place and they have great fuel. And of course, Leshehu. Charlie, I want to start a campaign, bring back our song. The Leshehu song. I don't know. Charlie, I don't know where they took the song. Charlie.
When the song is nice, don't take it.
I will bring the song back on my own. Omani, call the Leshehu people and say they should bring back the song. What is this? Every day you are busy. Yes, we'll buy the school bus. We want to play the Leshehu song. Bring back the song.
I can't believe it. If they don't bring you, bring it back on your own.
That we have things are difficult in the country. So if something makes us happy, let us enjoy it. Small Leshehu song. Then you run the song. What do you lose if you even play the song for every 5 minutes? Why? Oh. So now we should sell. Okay, we'll buy the school bus, but bring up our song.
Oh my goodness!
Bring back our song, please. We want our song.
It's a campaign.
Yes, bring back the Leshehu song.
Thank you.
Call 057-411-7851. Get a school bus at an amazing rate. We'll help you buy the bus. That's what Leshehu is all about. Benjamin Kete is already here. Kickoff is next.
Let's get into the headlines. And GFA to collaborate with the state to ensure befitting burial for Christian Atsu. Liverpool host Real Madrid in the UEFA Champions League. And Chelsea brought back Graham Potter despite abysmal run of form. Let's get into the details now. And General Secretary of the Ghana Football Association, Prosper Harrison Ado, says the organization will throw its weight behind the family of Christian Atsu and the state to ensure a befitting burial is held for the former Ghana international. The 31-year-old who played for Hatayspor was a victim of the devastating earthquake that affected some parts of Turkey on February 6th and was confirmed dead on Saturday after being discovered under the rubble after 12 days. Now, Atsu's remains arrived in Ghana on Sunday at the Kotoka International Airport and was received by his family and a government contingent led by Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and Information Minister Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah.
If we are saddened by his demise, we have reason to, because somebody of this caliber who always bring people together and always is willing to share. It's not everybody who gets resources and wants to share and help people. Once he gets the call that somebody needs help, he provides willingly and with good heart. And so it's very rare to get said people. And so we take the opportunity once again to send our condolences to the wife and the children and then the family. We know it's a big loss to them. And so we have to continue. I must thank Ghanaians for the prayers, but I think we will have to continue to pray for the family, and then together we have to join hands with the family and then with government and ensure that we send our brother home befittingly.
So you had General Secretary of the Ghana Football Association, Prosper Harrison Ado, speaking there, still staying with Christian Atsu. His former Black Stars teammate Emmanuel Clottey has eulogized him after he passed away following the devastating earthquake in Turkey early this month. Now, in a Citi Sports interview, Clottey, who played with the winger at the 2013 AFCON in South Africa, compared the footballing ability of the late 31-year-old to 7-time Ballon d'Or winner Lionel Messi.
It's more like Messi, very energetic, respectful, hardworking. I don't know. I can't describe him. Tell me what I'm hearing and what is going on. I still want to believe it unless I see it. Wow. So right now, as I'm talking to you, I don't know what to say, my brother. Oh, okay. I know myself. I don't know what to say for now unless I see the body. Yeah, because since day one, I don't want to believe it till now.
So you heard former Black Star striker Emmanuel Clottey speaking there. Let's do some women's football. And Black Queens head coach Nora Hoptel has described her first win in charge of the team as special. The Black Queens beat Benin by 3-0 in a friendly game on Sunday as part of preparations for the 2023 WAFU Zone B Cup of Nations and qualifiers for the African Women's Cup of Nations in 2024. Despite the win, Hoptel believes there's still a lot of work to be done to improve the squad.
It's always special to play the first game for me, but also for the player in this group together. It has been a long time since all those internationals came in, so it was, of course, special for me. And it's always good to start with a victory, but we also know that we have still some work to do. We hope that a lot of spectators in Ghana supported us during this game. We are looking forward for the WAFU Zone B Cup. It will be the next step in the Mission Volta. So it happens maybe in Nigeria, in Ghana, or in Cote d'Ivoire. And so we hope that a lot of people will travel there and will give us the fullest support.
So you heard Black Queens head coach Nora Hoptel speaking there. Now the Black Queens will play Togo in their second friendly match on Saturday, February 25. Let's now head over to Europe, where the UEFA Champions League returns tonight. There's a big game tonight when Liverpool Football Club host Real Madrid at Anfield. Now, ahead of that game, Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp believes the timing of the Real Madrid fixture has come at the right time for the club as they have improved in form. Now, the Reds host defending champions Real in the first leg of the round of 16 tonight. Liverpool head into the encounter on the back of 2 wins in the Premier League following a run of poor form in the English top flight.
I said it's one of the biggest games in the world, at least the biggest game I ever heard about. And with the recent history with one of us in the final, and quite successful in the competition, difficult to play against, grinding results out, all this kind of thing. It will be a top football game. And I'm really happy that we can play it now. Like 4 weeks ago, it would have been different, but life is all about timing, and maybe we found back our feet right in time for this game. Even when I would have expected us to be ourselves as well, even if we wouldn't have won the last 2 games, because it's a different competition and you have to use this opportunity. But so now we have these 2 results and hopefully we can build on that. But we need to play a super game. We need to play 2 super games, to be honest, to get through. But I have no problem with that, because if you don't play your best, you don't have a chance. Real Madrid doesn't have to play their best and still have a chance. And that's a difference. And that's pretty special.
So you heard Liverpool head coach Jurgen Klopp speaking there. In the other game to be played, Eintracht Frankfurt will be up against red-hot Napoli Football Club. That should be another interesting tie as well. So that's it for the Champions League happening tonight. Still on Liverpool, and owner John Henry says he is not selling the Premier League club but does expect some investment. Now, Henry's Fenway Sports Group, better known as FSG, which bought Liverpool in 2010, said in November that it would consider new shareholders in the Reds. Now, FSD chairman Tom Werner later said the club's owners were exploring a sale but could continue their stewardship for quite a while. The American was speaking in a question and answer session conducted over email. Now, FSG has been open to investment in Liverpool for several years and has recently engaged Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs in that process. So looks like there will still be some investments in Liverpool. Let's do some Chelsea news to close out the bulletin. And Graham Potter still has the support of Chelsea chairman Todd Bowley and the club's board despite their poor run of form. And the Blues have won just 2 of their past 14 games in all competitions and were beaten by 1-0 by Premier League strugglers Southampton over the weekend. Potter was appointed in September following the sacking of Thomas Tuchel. Now, however, Chelsea's owners have made it clear that hiring Potter was part of a long-term project. Now, it is felt that the team needs an opportunity to gel after a rebuild that has seen £583 million spent on new players in the past 2 transfer windows, with 8 new signings arriving in January alone. So it looks like Graham Potter is going nowhere for now. That's all for this morning's edition of Kickoff. My name is Benjamin Nketia, the small sport at citysportsonline.com.
Trust the process. The biggest things often start small.
Did you upheld the oath?
Without more.
I did not hear you. Can you repeat that again?
Without more.
On a hindsight, what would you say about your involvement in the deployment of armed NPP party vigilantes in a police vehicle to brutalize and injure innocent Ghanaians at Labaoleshi during the Ayawaso West Wagon by-elections?
Mr. Chairman, there's no factual basis to that question and no proof whatsoever to the question so posed.
Were you involved in the deployment of armed party vigilantes at Ayawaso West Wagon by-elections?
Mr. Chairman, I think if you can afford the member the opportunity to rephrase the question, that if...
Don't worry. Did you authorize any people at Laobalish? I think you have answered that question more than 2 times.
Because he said armed party. That part, that's where I need either rephrase or restate so that I'm sure what question I'm answering.
Mr. Chairman, my question is clear and simple. Were you involved in the deployment? I did not say you authorized. Were you involved in the deployment of the vigilantes at Labaoleshi?
Mr. Chairman, no, I was not involved.
Do you know Ernest Akomia, aka Double, a dealer in mobile phones at Tiptoe Lane? Do you know him?
I know Double, and I'm just now finding what his real name is, Ernest Akomia, but I don't know him as a mobile phone dealer.
I want to find out from you, what was Double's role at the Office of the Ministry of National Security?
I met him in the ministry at the national, see, the architecture there is that there's a National Security Secretariat, Council Secretariat, headed by a coordinator. And then there's a Ministry of National Security. And in their operational command, which terminates at the National Security Coordinator, there is the operations unit, and then there's a SWAT unit. I became aware that he was embedded in the SWAT unit.
Honorable nominee, under what provisions of the law did you arm and deploy the law enforcement duties of Laubauleshi?
Go ahead, don't worry about it. Mr. Chairman, categorical statements are being made without facts or basis. There's nothing like that. I did not do any such thing. I did not do any such thing.
Can you convince me to trust you as a Minister of State, considering what happened at Laubauleshi?
But I told you are my friend.
It doesn't matter.
And today you don't trust me.
I'm asking a question.
Today you don't trust me.
No, I'm asking a question that, can you convince me?
You should be testifying on my credibility.
No, it's not about credibility. I said convince me. We are here for the people of Ghana. Okay, so we have to ask the questions that are needed. And I'm asking the questions.
I have to. Please, your mic.
Do you still believe that the youth, the curvature of the youth in this country is such that they cannot have the ability to make good judgment on government policies? I.e., you were quoted of saying that some youth have coconut head and don't have the ability to make a point or to criticize government. Do you still believe in that?
No, but that's not even what I said. That's not. You get this in proper perspective. That's not what I said. We've all been youth before. When I joined the Kufuor government, I was the youngest, even though at 40, I was the youngest. Though a deputy minister, all of them, I was the youngest. So we
that's quite an old young person, to be honest. 40 is quite old.
But that's the point I'm making. I was. But we've been young before. So it's not for anybody to try and castigate the youth unreasonably. What I have been saying is this, and let's get it right. The youth must all the reasons to say what they want to say. They have the right, the entitlement to participate in the government of the country. What I said was that there was a limit to how these matters are to be handled. There has been this whole business, and if you recall, I think the communist revolution also, what it was that when we come to government, the first thing we do, all the lawyers, we chain them together and then dump them under the sea. We kill all of them. It's been one of the communist manifesto sort of thing. My argument is that you don't rule a country without the adults. I maintain it. The youth alone cannot run a country. It's not possible. There can't be a mixture of the youth and my friends, my nephews, Abrokwa, all the young ones who have been in government, Ponkroma and others, they are in government. It's never been my argument that they cannot have a say in the run of the country. I said they should be tamed, they should be temperate in the kind of things that they say, and the suggestion that every adult is useless. You look at me, you think I'm useless?
I believe you are useless. But my information is that as of the time you were in government, you were certainly not the youngest. Nana Akomia was probably younger than you when you were in government.
Health Tidbit was brought to you by Nyaho Medical Center.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
Designate and the Chieftaincy Minister designate. What did you make of that? Send us your thoughts 05499869996. Parents, let's know how well is the placement going. We're told now 69% of the SHS entrants have been placed. That's an improvement from the last figure. How is it going? We've been studying some reports. We'll bring you an interview in the coming days on the exams, the BEC, and some of the things that have come up on that. All right, and I'll say a few quick birthdays, but before I do that, in the beginning, children in our community used to walk to school. So not only are her bamboo bicycles making it easier for children to get to school, Bernice Dapa also employs many women as well. At APSA, this is what we call Africanacity, the distinct ability of the Ghanaian to always get things done. Africanacity is our inspiration. It defines who we are and what we do. It's our commitment to helping people find a way to get things done. To find out more, visit apsa.com.gh. Speaking of which, I think was it last week?
Yes, it was last week.
You came on air to appeal for a medical student.
Exactly.
She had qualified to which university?
The University of Ghana.
To do
medicine, become a doctor, yes.
And how much was the fee for?
Everything came up to somewhere around 64,000 Ghana cedis.
Kuku, you did hear? What? For a year or for the whole 4 years?
For the 4-year period.
164,000.
Yeah.
To train a doctor at medical school.
Yeah, medical.
No fee paying.
Yeah.
Normal.
Yeah, that's right.
How many years?
6 years.
And she didn't have money.
She didn't have money.
What secondary did she go to?
Oh God, that escaped me quickly.
So you did an appeal for 10 seconds.
Yes, that's right.
And then who came through?
Quite a number of people actually got through, but the BSIC, just to mention that in full, came through. They called me.
Actually, let me tell you what happened.
Okay.
Daniel Asiedu, who's the MD.
Okay.
His secretary called me and asked for your number.
Okay, I see. I see. Yeah, because I was there.
Yeah. So Daniel Asiedu, I don't know if he was listening or somebody was listening with him. The MD of the bank called and says he wants your number. And then I handed them over to you. And in a day, they paid the fees for the next.
Charlie.
What's the lady's name?
So the name is Harriet.
Harriet.
Yes. So Harriet, they wrote a letter awarding full scholarship.
Wonderful.
Beautiful.
Full scholarship. It says, congratulations. We are delighted to inform you that in accordance with our corporate social responsibility support program for the bright but needy students, Omni BSIC, as you're calling it, the bank, has awarded you a scholarship for your tuition and accommodation fees, monthly stipend, and incidental expenses amounting to 164,496 Ghana cedis. The purpose is to enable you to pursue a 6-year academic program in medicine and surgery at the University of Ghana, Legon.
Imagine if we did one of every day we do something like this. Imagine if all the people with excess money would do this. You know, I was reading about somebody who I'm told makes like $50-something million a year. Imagine how many school fees you can pay how many lives you can change. You know, so sometimes when we think about wealth, a wealthy person is not somebody who has built many houses. You know, sometimes I say, oh, Charlie, this guy has money, he has 20 houses in Accra. I prefer to have 20 university graduates in my name than 20 houses in Accra. Because even if I die, the house will not be there. And your gift to the world is tomorrow. What you leave when you're no longer here. So, look, and now that passive income is not doing well, just buying stocks and bonds, government will say DDE, build house that you die and leave. If you get
people
somebody
come and fight over,
somebody's going to school, wants to become a journalist, wants to become a lawyer, doctor, engineer,
support,
carpenter, pay their school fees, you know, get them an education. That's the way to go. So, and for those of you who started universities, you know, there are people who started private universities and they're struggling. Your blessing is like million. Look, if you invest in education of a person, I think it's one of the best things you can do. So those who have built like private universities and they are struggling to pay fees and things, Charlie, hang in there. It's a good investment. It's a good investment. So because for all of us here, we are here because either our parent or our grandparent was educated, or our parent had the sense enough to take us to school. So, Sky, you and I, you know.
Yeah, that's the story.
Was it not for education? You'll be swimming in the sea catching fish. You know, so all of us. So, thanks to Omni Basic for what they did. It's 7:39. All right, so we'll talk about air quality shortly. We'll talk a bit about other issues as well. But are you finding it challenging managing our value-added services on Vodafone? The Vodafone Content Manager now allows you to check, to control, and subscribe to the value-added services with ease. Now, be in control of all your mobile content subscriptions and choose the type of content that suits your style. Dial *463# or visit my Vodafone app now to conveniently manage all your content subscriptions. Vodafone, further together. You know Chop Make a Chop? Chop Make a Chop? Okay. Now, Zipay is giving 50 cedis cash bonus to all first-time MoneyGram to wallet receivers. Ask any of the more than 4,000 agents nationwide. How do you do this? Dial *270# to register now. Chop Make a Chop, be empowered.
And did you know that Independence Day, the 6th of March, falls on a Monday? Yes, it does. So there's a long weekend coming up, guys. Yeah. Come spend the holiday with us at the Royal Senchi and enjoy bed, breakfast, and dinner at a special Senchi weekday promo for 2,500 Ghana cedis per night.
Air quality there.
Beautiful, right? Call Linda on 0242 886 510. Okay, call her for more details. She'll hook you up. The Royal Senchi is still Ghana's leading hotel.
All right, now I want to start with this breathing Accra thing because I feel, you know, there was a time that Accra was, area was one of the most toxic places on earth. Now we're told that IQS Air Visual, a real-time air quality information platform, says Ghana's air quality is currently 49.6 times the WHO annual air quality guideline. This the site attributes to high concentration of PM2.5 in our atmosphere. Now, this PM2.5 is particles found in the air, including dust, soot, dirt, smoke, and liquid droplets with diameters of 2 micrometers or less. Here's a quick report from City Newsroom.
In intensity of dry and dusty conditions over the past few days. The sudden change in climate has been perceived by some Ghanaians as very unusual, as the variation feels like harmattan. A report by the Air Quality Index ranking, however, ranks Accra, Ghana's capital, as the worst in regards to air quality in the world. Speaking to City News on the back of the recent change in the weather, a senior meteorologist at the Central Analysis and Forecast Office at the Ghana Meteorological Agency, Joshua Samoa, revealed that the harmattan conditions being experienced now are as a result of dust lifted around Chad, Sudan, and Niger into the country. He has, however, assured that the situation may improve by the end of February.
We are actually still in harmattan. For most parts of the country, harmattan lasts until late February into early March. So it's still harmattan. But then every season, there are some variations that happen. And we saw some of these variations around January when we had some moist winds from the ocean coming into the country, helping in cloud formation and then some rainfall occasionally. So the idea was that people thought because we're seeing some rains in January, it's still in harmattan, even though we are getting some few cases of rainfall, but it's still harmattan, and we should expect an intensification of the harmattan to come later. And just last week on Monday, we sent an update that the week will see an intensification in the dry and dusty conditions coming into the country. The impact is actually higher for areas in the northern portions of Ghana, but for us in the southern parts too, we are also getting some of the effects. So it's still harmattan, but we are seeing an intensification of the conditions that are associated with harmattan around this time. On Monday, like I said earlier, we sent an outlook that we should expect an intensification of the dusty conditions into the country. And on Tuesday into Wednesday, we saw a lot of dust lifted in the dust source region. That's over the Sahel areas. So Sudan, Chad, Niger areas, we're all seeing dusty conditions lifted. These dusty conditions were propagated by low-level, strong winds into our country. So that's what brought the dusty conditions that we are seeing here. Already, there are fumes from the exhaust of cars, burning of bushes and all of those things. They introduce some pollutants into the air. So the introduction of the dust compounds this issue. And so the pollution of the air increases with the intrusion of the dust into the country. And that is what we're
has advised the public to adhere to strict safety measures, such as the wearing of face masks due to the suspension of minute dust particles and aerosols dominating the atmosphere.
The Air Quality Index recorded at the EPA's monitoring site, located at the University of Ghana between February 1st to 19th, 2023, was largely moderate, except for February 15 to 16, when it increased to unhealthy for sensitive groups, and then unhealthy to very unhealthy between high irritation of the eyes, nose, and throat, and vulnerable groups such as people with asthma, lung disease, older adults, children, and pregnant women are considered at greater risk. The Environmental Protection Agency wishes to entreat the vulnerable groups to reduce outdoor activities where necessary, especially the elderly, children, pregnant women, etc. Additionally, the general public is advised to take all necessary precautionary measures, such as the use of pollution mask, nose mask, goggles for eye protection, or use air purifiers if available. Reduce outdoor activities, including physical exercise. The public is hereby informed that the agency will continue to collaborate with relevant institutions, i.e. Ghana Health Service, Ghana Meteorological Agency, DVLA, and Ghana Standard Authority to monitor the situation for updates on our website and on the social media handles.
Some Ghanaians also shared their views with Citi News.
I find it rather awkward. I was actually surprised when I found out about this harmattan. It's rather awkward, but then it's nature, so we just have to keep up with it. So my younger kid is actually affected. He has this cold and cough, and myself partially affected.
It brings a lot of cold, like changing climate brings so many things. Personally, to me, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because wherever I do work with such an environment all day long, so I'm okay with it.
So that was a report from yesterday. So harmattan conditions in Ghana will persist according to Meteo Agency, and then Ghana is now also in the list of countries with the most hazardous air quality levels. In fact, based on the rankings we see of what they call the US AQI air quality index and pollution by city, with anything above 300 being hazardous. Ghana's number is 389. This is just terrible. Now, let me just give you some background before I do my first interview. Now, in August 2018, Accra became the first city in Africa to join the Breathe Life network of cities around the world that are fighting air pollution. We installed air quality monitors to measure air quality. This was to help protect health and save lives. Now, this campaign is an urban initiative to save about 7 million people who die each year from air pollution, both outdoor and households around the world. Though we are at hazardous levels now, we are told that this could have been exacerbated by the Sahara situation. Remember, I read a story from last week about Cameroon. I'm told Burkina Faso is also very, very dusty. And but it's not only bad. The good side is that when it rains and the dust settles on the ground, some essential nutrients, mostly iron and phosphorus, will be added to the soil for our plants to grow well. So probably need to pray for the rain. If the rain comes, it clears the atmosphere. Let's talk to Country Lead for Clean Air Fund, Desmond Appiah, on how concerned we should be about this score of 389, making Accra with the most hazardous levels of air quality in the rankings. Desmond, thanks for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning, Bernard.
So, what is this US AQI thing? What does it mean?
It gives a snapshot of the quality of air at any given time. And the good thing is that it's a good guide to help us, the other professionals advise for those that are more vulnerable and those that are exposed, and for all of us to be conscious about the state of the quality of air, and also to put in the precautions that are necessary to help us not to have the negative impact of the poor air quality.
So I have a scale in front of me where I'm told 0 to 50 US AQI is good, 51 to 100 is moderate, 101 to 150 is unhealthy for sensitive groups, 151 to 200 is unhealthy, 201 to 300 is very unhealthy, and then anything above 300 is hazardous. Ghana, according to the ranking, was 389. Put that in context. How bad is that?
That is pretty bad, and it's really bad on the basis of having pre-existing conditions. For instance, if someone has asthma and you have this quality of air, chances are you breathe in and it triggers whatever usually causes the asthma. It also, as we heard, also can affect visibility. And it's even more dangerous in the evenings when you cannot see very far, especially as our lighting system on the roads and the like. So it's because it can be a trigger to more serious issues. And that is why knowing about it is very helpful. And also knowing what to do is helpful. And understanding the causes of it is also extremely helpful, because then you can put in some mitigating measures or adapt as the case may be.
So when I saw the rankings with Accra being the worst, I was a bit alarmed. But it appears not every capital is on the list, which means that some countries are not even measuring this, right? Because I remember in 2018, Ghana joined the list of countries that were actually going to monitor this type of thing. So does our number one ranking mean we are the worst in the world, or this is just the worst among those who are measuring?
I would say the worst among those that are measuring. And we should put it in context that it's a snapshot of a period. It does not mean that Ghana's air quality on average is worse than New Delhi. I think that would be something out of it. And so when I listened and I saw the reportage, it looked and sounded as if Ghana is the worst place. Of course, in the last 2 days, from the rankings that we are seeing and from the satellite data that is available, it shows that Accra hasn't got the best quality of air. But let's put it in context. There are also background contributors. And this particular situation that we have in these past few days, it's a specific reason. There's a specific reason for it, the situation in the Sahel region. But the background pollution is also something that we should be concerned about, because mainly those are the ones that we can have an impact on. Those are the ones that we can do something about to reduce it. And I am extremely excited because it has brought the topic of air pollution to the fore. What we've realized is that in Ghana, we don't even demand clean air. It is not on our agenda. There's very little conversations about it. But a situation like this makes everybody become more conscious about what it is that is in our atmosphere, why we should be concerned about, and what it costs for us.
So now that we've seen this, what do you reckon the conversation should be about? Who should lead it? And beyond wearing masks, what can we do to protect ourselves?
First off, the laws establish that the EPA has that responsibility because they do a lot of the regulations. They also do the monitoring. And but there is a gap in the data that we have. It's mainly Accra that has some monitors. It is not even all these monitors that are functional, but we do have some. EPA has installed, government has installed some. We at the Clean Air Fund are also supporting a project that is also going to install more. The US EPA has helped Ghana to install some others. So in the sub-region, Accra has a lot of information. And it is usually not a matter of just having the information. It's what you do with the information that is most important. The second thing is that this is bringing it to the fore to establish the local assembly's responsibility for ensuring that the background sources of pollution that we do have a lot of control over, we begin to pay attention to. And I think the third thing is about the awareness. Building the awareness, and in Clean Air Fund parlance, we say to drive demand for clean air, because there are a lot of things that can be done to help to prevent us getting to this kind of stages. Sometimes, because of the natural nature of the harmattan, we would have periods where we would have high dust in the air, we would have periods that we will experience something like this. But once awareness is built, we are conscious, and we're also working on the things that we have a lot more control over. It reduces the impact, the negative impact that we may see.
Thank you, Desmond, for talking to us. Desmond appears as a country lead for Clean Air Fund. And EPA has asked members of the public to start putting on nose masks and also restrict the appearance of outdoor events to prevent health risks associated with air pollution. So in actual sense, Ghana is ahead because not every country measures this. And the fact that you know that your air quality is bad, further worsened by harmattan, means you can take corrective action. You remember this guy lived in Asia, and he says wearing masks is very routine in Asia, partly because they know, and prior to COVID, there wasn't even that awareness in Ghana about wearing masks. So wearing masks was not very strange to the Asians, even during COVID. It was to us, but I don't think it should be anymore because now we know. My only concern is like kids, school, play, harmattan. You know, we used to say harmattan is not coming anymore. Now the opera has gone, but it's come with a vengeance, Kokwi.
It has. Like you said, when you think about the kids, it's running around, kicking a football, riding their bike, whatever. It's part and parcel of, it's like they wake up, they breathe, they run, trying to convince them. Yes, we're not that far outside of the mask wearing portion of our COVID protocols, but trying to convince them that, okay, you're wearing masks because there's too much dust in the air. The education has to go down really well. There has to be a concerted effort to channel that information in a way that's palatable for everyone, every age group. Do you understand? And make it part and parcel of what we do seasonally in these really dusty times. Perhaps, I don't know, EPA, if it's their remit to do this, maybe they could come up with some kind of campaign just for those seasons, just to remind people to be conscious about the quality of our air, protecting themselves. Extra emphasis on people who have, as the gentleman just said, respiratory illnesses and asthma, things of that nature. It's a tough time for them. So I just think we need better education for the general public for us to understand the health implications of breathing in this kind of air.
Okay. Go for it.
Oh, okay. So
actually, no. Let me do a quick interview. Okay, we'll call him later. Okay, so yes, go for it.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised by this. I think a year or two ago, the first time I actually focused on this was like 2 years ago. I think Columbia University actually did some work on air quality. And I think in the period since the EPA, I must give credit to Dr. Kokofu and his outfit. I think they have been very vested because initially one of the biggest problems was capacity. Just even the equipment to be able to carry out some of these measurements. And then, like you're also saying, the education, there's still a lot of room for improvement with the education. Definitely. But at least I think the one thing that Mr. Kokofu and his outfit have been able to do is to get help with just even being able to measure it. I don't know if it's still yet at the national level, but I do understand that like in Accra, the equipment is there. They have the sensors to do this. I think in Kumasi, in Takrady, and quite a few other places, they are able to measure, store, and do all those things. So credit to them. But dedication is important. Now, just a couple of numbers. The last time I checked numbers, just so that people understand how this is. Now, according to numbers, it is estimated that about 8% of total mortality, which is approximately 16,000 Ghanaians, die prematurely each year because of air pollution. So this is not that's why you are being very serious. It's not like, it's an anomaly that you just want to discuss this morning. We are talking about something that in all its forms kills 16,000 Ghanaians every year. You might not know about it, but it leads to a lot of things. Okay, so it's the reason why we have to be able to deal with this. Now, according to the numbers, again, the data that they worked, the number is projected to increase to approximately, the numbers will shoot up if no action is taken to deal with this. Now, it's costing us $2.5 billion. Yes, that's the economic cost of air pollution. And yes, now, for instance, the sources include industrial sites, mobile sources, which is vehicle, and area sources. That's both from the naturally occurring harmattan, which is what we seem to be focusing on, and then man-made, which is cook stoves and then open burning of waste.
So a lot to do.
So there's a lot to do. So with some, you might think, the harmattan will pass. Yet the harmattan passes, you have still not stopped burning. The cars are still polluting. The emission rate is still high. We are still doing a lot of cooking in forms that using energy, fuels that are not considered clean. So all of this end up contributing to the bad quality of air supply that is available. So there's a lot of work to be done.
We need to make the point that the reason we are the worst in the ranking is because we are measuring. A lot of countries are not measuring. So we started measuring in 2018. So actually we are better off than a lot of people because they're probably breathing in toxic things they don't even know. Think of Sahel countries like Mali, like Niger, of Burkina Faso, where the harmattan is probably worse. All right. So a lot of capitals in West Africa are not even measuring this thing. Right. So while we should be concerned about the levels, at least the information empowers us to do something.
Yes.
So our graphic this morning is leading with the front page that wear masks.
Right.
Go to Burkina Faso, check their front page. I'm not sure they're going to talk about that today.
Probably
I'm not even sure they're doing the same in Mali or Niger. You can check. So all is not lost. And I think that knowing is one thing, acting based on information is an entirely different thing.
Right.
We'll take a breather, bring you to social media trends. Brought to you by Vodafone and
our friends at Cal Bank. Don't let the stress of planning the burial and funeral service of your loved one detract you from bidding your final goodbyes. Cal Bank and Sawa Collection Platform is a real-time online collection platform which helps you easily manage all donations, be it cash, check, or via any digital means. Call us on 0800 500 500. Cal Bank, forward together.
All right, let's get into the segment. A number of very interesting things trending. Gold for oil is trending there. Brand Champong is trending. Mohamed Kudus is trending. All of Mohamed Kudus, of course, a spillover from the weekend. City Newsroom is trending as well. For Brand Champong, it's trending because of his vetting. Yesterday, he was before the Appointments Committee of Parliament and was asked a few questions. He spoke about Maya West war gone, his thoughts on agriculture and all of that. And there are several stories. My favorite story from the vetting is on citynewsroom.com, I believe, where he says, at the minority leader at Force, it looks like he was quite surprised that his fellow MP would run him through the fire like
And his
that.
friend, as he called him.
And his friend. So that's trending as well. A number of other sporting related trends: Osimhen, Oba, Vlahovic, Arsenal, Xhaka, all other things trend. There's some Champions League football tonight, so you can imagine where these ones are coming from. But if you go into tech news, there's a very interesting story. Sky, this will fascinate you. It says 2 Supreme Court cases this week could upend the entire internet. Now, this is on CNN. Now, the story says the Supreme Court is set to hear back-to-back oral arguments this week in 2 cases that could significantly reshape online speech and content moderation. The outcome of the oral arguments, scheduled for Tuesday and Wednesday, could determine whether tech platforms and social media companies can be sued for recommending content to their users or for supporting acts of international terrorism by hosting terrorist content.
Yep.
It marks the court's first ever review of a hot-button federal law that protects websites from lawsuits over user-generated content. Now, the cases in question are Gonzalez versus Google. That's one case. And then the other case is Twitter versus Tamner. So those are the two cases that will determine what happens on the internet.
These are very interesting issues because on one hand, there's a view that if you go against the tech companies, you're going to impose onerous responsibility on them to be looking out for all of these things all the time and ensure that they do not become host of these defamatory or libelous or terrorist-related, content.
Yes.
But then on the other side too, you ask yourself, if a radio station hosts someone who says something really outlandish, the person who is affected is at liberty to sue the radio station and then sue the person who said the thing. Yeah. So if you stretch the logic and the principle, you should be able to say that if Google hosts something which is offensive, if Facebook and these other institutions host something like that, they should be targeted. And in some progressive countries, they have expanded the provision of the law. The US intervened with legislation to say that, look, let's moderate it, okay. Let's limit it to a certain level.
So the cases will be heard this week and we'll see what happens. Like the story said, they could append the entire internet, and social media platforms and tech companies will now see where they stand in terms of usage and all of those things.
That's why the last time I was recommending that if you run, say, a radio station and you have a website or you put something on Facebook, please turn off the comment section, because what people say there, because you are providing the platform and you basically are inciting what's happening by reason of what you post there, people can sue you.
All right. So that's the segment for the morning.
Babe, so what are we doing tomorrow?
Oh, I have to go to the bank, then go and pay for the stuff for my place. Then maybe back to the bank to transfer what's left to my brother. So
are you serious? You're going to the bank twice in one day? Who is she? Which bank? Which branch?
Oh, babe, but...
Oh, don't babe me. What's her name? Tell her what.
It's a new day. Make your life easy with CarBank mobile banking. Just dial *771#, and just like that, your life is easy. Transfer money from your CarBank account to any other account. Do mobile money and other payments right from your bank account on your phone, anytime, anywhere. No internet, no charges. It's just that easy. *771#. Banking is easy with CarBank.
CarBank, forward together.
CarBank, forward together.
One Ghana, pay. Just one Ghana.
Yo, bro, I beg, make you give me correct shock absorber. Or make a do video concept, then take the Gaussian P for the engine show you.
Hey, yawa humache. Every morning you the tear calls, they browse. Actually, something they.
Hey, Tago, the way town make hot. I grow best one if it be you where you get Vodafone 1 Ghana promo them out. 20 minutes talk time to call all networks. Where you start get data and 1 gig from 5 a.m. to 11:59 a.m. Bye. Anka you go do pass me safe, Anka. You dial *530#. Make we enjoy. You go fit subscribe as many times as you want.
Yes, plantain.
Yo, sweet Ama, take this by Vodafone 1 Ghana bundle. Moku vibe plus video calls and taste. You catch the vibe. Early morning, 5 a.m. sharp.
Vodafone, further together.
Join the conversation on the Citi Breakfast Show on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag CitiCBS.
1xBet. Easy betting, easy winnings. 1xBet, the most reliable service to make deposits easily with high odds and numerous bonuses on the spot. Register now at 1xBet.com.gh. Use promo code BESTODDSGH to get 300% bonus up to 3,445 Ghana cedis on your first deposit. Easy to use, easy to have a chance to win. 1xBet, reliable bookmaker. Gambling can be addictive. Bet responsibly. Not for person under 18 years. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission.
Ghana, you inspire us. Where others saw bamboo, Benis Dapa saw bicycles. Benis Dapa grew up in a small rural community where kids walk a long way to school every day. Moved by this, she built her first bicycle using bamboo. Today, she employs many women, and her bamboo bikes makes it easier for children to get to school. Ghana, at APSA, we call this Africanacity. Africanacity is our inspiration behind who we are and what we do. It's our commitment to helping people find a way to get things done. We love Africanacity. To find out more, visit apsa.com.gh.
There will never be a better time to buy a new Samsung phone. Love is in the air, and great gifts await you when you buy selected Samsung phones this February. Automatically get up to 2,000 cedis worth of fuel coupons, spa, shopping vouchers, as well as phone cases and more when you buy selected phones at our authorized stores. If you've been waiting months to buy a new phone, this is the time to stop telling yourself next month. Live a little and leave with a gift.
This offer is valid throughout this February. But if you have a sweet tooth, shop in our partner stores from the 11th to 14th February and get free extra chocolate. Valentine is here. Buy a Samsung and get a gift. Terms and conditions apply.
There are moments in life when you're just so scared and you feel like just giving up. Oh, but Dino Milk is saying, we know that you can do it. Believe in yourself and then go for it. Go for it. Nourishment, oh, that is your Dino Milk.
Choose nourishment. Choose Dano Milk Whole Cow, your nutritious instant powdered milk.
Dano Milk. Go for it.
This advert is FDA approved.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
Move. Abedimpo.
There'll be more than one because
so you have
there's one who's moving.
You have so you have the Honorable Obiama who is being elevated.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the Honorable Amin Anta who is also being elevated. So these are two ministers of state.
Yes,
and then you have a deputy minister in the person of the Stephen Amwa who is going to the trade ministry
to replace
my good friend.
I forget his name.
Herbert,
who's moving to
Ministry of
Energy. So from trade to energy and then from parliament to trade. Okay, so basically three more.
Yeah,
so they'll be done today.
Yeah, that's right. Hopefully take the report tomorrow.
Let's go to the EPA. Mrs. Angelina Amma Mensah is the Director of Corporate Affairs for the EPA. What do they make of the current situation? What can they do to help improve numbers? Good morning, madam. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. And thank you for having EPA.
So what does EPA make of the latest US AQI numbers 389, we are told, is hazardous for Accra. I mean, why did we let this happen to us?
Well, we have a natural occurring season called harmattan, which starts from November ending to middle of March. Unfortunately, we didn't experience it. But sadly, we've experienced those kind of haziness in the atmosphere. And per our monitoring stations, which we have in Accra, in Legon, in the U.S., around the U.S. Embassy, Kaswa, and other places, and also sensors in Tema, Tamale, and Kumasi, we picked that this atmosphere, this weather blowing is laden with heavy particulate matter, and so it's labeled hazardous. Why we let it be like that? There may be so many factors, but one that I will hammer on is the fact that we have cut down literally every tree that will absorb some of these particulates who will be traveling at a very fast speed. We have uprooted all the grasses and we've made it a concrete area. And that is how we've come to find ourselves. Everybody is a culprit, and we have become victims of our own corporate way. So if you ask me in a layman's language for us to understand, this is how we've managed to bring ourselves.
Does that mean that the EPA's powers are not coercive, i.e. you can advise, you can punish after the fact, but if people choose to live their life in a certain way, if they choose to put profit before people, if they choose to set up factories in the wrong places or drive certain kinds of cars, you may not be in a position to prevent that?
EPA has that mandate through what we call the environmental assessment procedures. But before I continue with that, we should all understand that environmental protection management is a responsibility of all, and our Constitution actually beholds us to take that into perspective. Therefore, as a citizen of Ghana, if you see something happening which is not right, you have the right and mandate to talk about it and also report to the Environmental Protection Agency. EPA has done its best to stop certain factors or factories that may cause pollution to the environment. But you realize that sometimes at the time EPA could go there, people have already started doing things. And another authority, when we're looking at all these things, we should look at the zoning area of the place. The place might have been zoned for light industrial area by another entity. And therefore, it gives people rights to put up whatever factories. But when they are putting up the factories, what we have to do is to make sure that there are management systems in place, environmental management plans to actually mitigate any other things that would be hazardous to human health and to the environment. We still have the powers and we execute our powers. EPA is not sleeping, but we all need to be together to be able to make these enforcement work.
All right, in terms of what to do, I want you to deal with it from two angles. From a personal level to protect yourself against what is happening, and then from a collective level as to what to do to prevent the air quality from getting further worsened. So let's start from the first one. Now that we are in this situation, what do you advise citizens to do?
From a personal level, we should start, if we have stopped wearing our nose mask, we should hold on to it because our life depends on it. And also goggles. If you don't have anything doing in town, please just stay indoors. Some of us are used to burning our rubbish anywhere and anyhow. We should stop. And when we see our neighbors doing that, please alert the assembly, because this also fuels those hazardous nature we are in. Now, in the long term, tree planting is very important to absorb these hazardous nature or these pollutants. And this is what we should embark on. And I believe that the Forestry Commission is doing that for us, planting trees and planting trees and planting trees. But as we plant the trees, we realize that some of us also go and uproot these trees and cut down for so many things. Or when we want to put up some structures, we cut down the trees without replanting. And so we should be each other's neighbor, be able to put ourselves in a very good condition, because this pollutants, we don't know what else it can bring to us.
We understand this has been worsened by the harmattan, so that the dustiness and the lack of visibility will not persist beyond the harmattan. Is that correct?
Yeah, that would be for the meteorological agency to confirm that. I wouldn't know the duration as I speak to you now. So please pardon me.
But at least the fact is that the situation has been made worse by harmattan, that you can confirm.
Yes, that's one it is.
Fair enough. Thank you for talking to us. Okay, hold on.
Just one. Madam mentioned the cutting of trees. I just want to ask her, we've seen a significant redevelopment of large swaths of the city. I don't live in another place. I live in Accra. We've seen a significant redevelopment of large swaths of the city that almost always results in the cutting down of trees. And these are not just by private developers. These are even by state entities when they are constructing. Does the EPA have a say in some of these situations? Because I remember speaking to a leading architect who said, we just have the concretization of Accra. Nobody's interested in building green anymore. Does the EPA have any say in that?
Yes, EPA has a say. Before you do any large-scale development, you need to have an environmental permit. And within the permit, we have something we call schedule. That tells you what you should do and what you should not do. So when you uproot a tree, we ask you to replant. And if there's no space to replant, we ask you to plant it somewhere else. Now, for the monitoring, I cannot speak to it because I haven't monitored it to see whether it's being done or not. But I strongly believe that trees are being planted in areas where they are developing estate houses. And some are not also doing it anyway. But then within our mandate, we prescribe and ask them to replant what they have uprooted.
So then a significant challenge would be, in spite of the good work, the capacity to monitor some of these things.
Indeed, yes. Monitoring is very important.
Is that something you're able to do effectively?
It's just recently that we got a number of staff. But for some years now, and I believe that it's not like a broken record, EPA had less than 300 staff all over the country. And they were not all of them necessarily technical men, inclusive drivers, security men, secretarial staff, human resources, and then the core scientists have their different areas. There were less than 100 spread all over the country. But now we have staff. And even that, they need to have some experience. So they are understudying the older ones to go out there to be able to monitor, because you can go to an area and if you don't have the eye or you don't have the requisite skills, you may not see what is happening. So they are understudying the older generation to be able to embark on some of these monitoring. And if you are taking of some vehicles to be able to be doing that, or especially in the region. So I pray that our monitoring resumes briskly and very well for us to be able to at least put our nation's environment in a better state.
Can you confirm to us the scope of the sensors? We are aware, at least now you've been able to acquire some sensors that allow you to monitor and measure some of the air quality and also the emissions. Can you confirm the scope of these sensors? Accra, Kumasi, Takrady, where?
No, in Accra, they are monitors. And in Kumasi, they're called purple air sensors. We have it in Tema, Kumasi, and Takrady. And they are 40 in number, spread over these 3 areas. So 4 areas. Takrady doesn't have Tamale, Kumasi, and Tema, yes. And they have the ability to detect pollutants. It was given to us by the US EPA, and the World Bank and the Stockholm Institute of Environment.
And then my final question, sorry again for you, in educating people, because that's a key part. In your interview with Bernard, you remarked about the interaction that exists, for instance, between yourself and the Ghana Meet You. But we also know there are other things that are causing this. So we've spoken about the use of dirty fuels. We've spoken about vehicular emissions. We've spoken about you have yourself have addressed the matter of trees being cut. Is there any room for expanded education, collaboration with other agencies to address this? Because you don't want to create a situation that looks like, oh, once the harmattan disappears, then everything is okay. The problem goes beyond just the harmattan, does it not?
Yes, EPA is collaborating with relevant institutions like the Ghana Health Service, Ghana Meteorological Agency, the GBLA, and the Ghana Standard Authority. And I think that we have to extend it to the Ghana Education Service and also to the media. And so it should be a continuous education. And the strategy for this, I have not seen it. But I believe that there will be a strategy for this education to be carried throughout. And then we need all of your help to support that.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Angelina Amma-Mensah, Director of Corporate Affairs, EPA. And by the way, here are some conditions that harmattan worsens or triggers: dry and cracked skin and foot, dehydration, common cold and catarrh, asthma triggers, tonsillitis and sore throat, eye irritation and dryness, sickle cell crisis, bronchitis, pneumonia, epistaxis or nose bleeding, and meningitis. So all of these things are worsened by dry conditions. So cracked skin and foot, dehydration, common cold or catarrh, asthma triggers, tonsillitis and sore throat, eye irritation and dryness, sickle cell crisis, bronchitis, pneumonia, epistaxis or nose bleeding, as well as meningitis. So
we now know where the high mortality numbers come from there.
Yeah. I'm telling you. So we need to, you know what to do. Drink more water.
Take care of yourself.
I think Sky is right. He's been wearing the mask for the past 2 weeks. It's like you saw something we didn't see. Yeah, I think you saw it long time.
You know, but the truth is that sometimes when you read material, academic material, you understand that you should not live in a city like Accra and not wear a mask. The reason is, first of all, the standards are not right. There's a reason why the Chinese are always wearing masks, even if they leave their city, because they do know that there are so many things in the air that you shouldn't be breathing in. And then also, there's a reason why
Hold on there, but also because Beijing is like one of the most polluted
No, that's true. That's true. But at some point, we were told that Agbogboleshi was, releasing
all kinds of
polluted
things.
air, which was worse than Chernobyl or close to Chernobyl. So if you look at it, you cannot be in the city of Accra and just assume that God will take care of you. There are things that you should do to protect yourself. People go to the barbers and remove the hair in their noses. There's a reason why they want to look younger, smarter, and all of that. But God put it there for a reason.
But you have to trim it more. It can't also be extended.
That's okay, but people remove it entirely. They use a wask to put it there and remove everything. Meanwhile, it is there to filter. The medical people will tell you to filter what is going in and what is exactly. So I have taken my own health into my hands, and it's because during intellectual property law, there were materials that I read in the area of medicine and all the things about the pharmacy world and all of that, and they opened my eyes to specific things.
Okay. So my friend Dr. Oke sent me some tips. He works with Kantanka Herbal Pharmaceuticals and Research Center. He sent me some tips this morning to share. Drink a lot of water to keep your body hydrated. That's number one. Then number two, wear a nose mask.
Yep.
I think that has been said a few times. So that's number two. Number three, keep your lips, feet, palm, and skin moisturized with balms and oils. Feet, palm, and skin moisturized with balms and oils. That's number three. Number four, rinse your eyes periodically with clean running water.
Yep.
Wear protective spectacles during the day. That's number five. So that's for the eye care. That's number four. Number five, wear protective clothing. Eat organic, healthy food. 7, eat more fruits and vegetables after washing them thoroughly. And then he also says, number 8, replace carbonated and soda drinks with warm teas and soups. And number 9, boost your immune system with regular intake of organic herbal immune boosters.
Okay.
So that's how it's going to
be. And you know, the danger is compromising your lungs. If they go, because that's what you use to breathe. If they go, Charlie, ventilator is the next thing available to you. So I beg you, whatever you have to do to protect it, do that. People are sitting in trotros. People are sneezing all over the place in the trotros, and you don't know what they are carrying and what they are sharing. Tuberculosis is one of the biggest problems in Ghana. Just in case you do not know, these are things that are spread through the air. So if you can erect a barrier that provides some safety, please.
Lots of comments about tree cutting. Here are a couple of them. Kofi says, "Good morning, Bernard. Please, the APA must collaborate with the MMDAs to check tree cutting." Another one says, "Good morning. Ask the APA that many trees were uprooted, or is it tell the APA that many trees were uprooted during construction of Nungwa Accra Road. Many trees are on La Polyclinic area. She should show where the replacement trees were planted." This is very important. Lots of comments about trees. Another one coming in says, "If you say you planted 7 million trees and now you're getting this type of weather, you will just be exposed. It's a zero-sum game." So, yeah, for what it's worth, people are not believing. Here are more comments.
Okay, so this one says that, okay, Cookie, you want to do us the honors?
Sure. Eric says, besides the harmattan, indiscriminate burning of waste should be of grave concern to our authorities. Some households burn their refuse in the middle of the night, bringing smoke into our rooms at a time when you're trying to rest from your daily hustle. What at all is wrong with us? The selfish interest is too much. Kofi Inosu says, "Good morning. The EPA must collaborate with the MMDAs to check tree cutting." Okay. But I saw people in Nadmo cutting down trees at a bus stop just to make way for a container. I'm surprised. This is on the Nyamiche Dakuman Road. Very strange.
For a container to pass, or for a container to be positioned.
The message wasn't very...
To be positioned, or to be placed.
To put up a container. Yeah, put up a container, they said. All right. Did the EPA rep say someone is compelled to plant trees either where one is felled or at a different location? Where are the trees that were felled during the construction of the Gifford Road, as well as the Ofanko Pokuasi roads? EPA needs to up its game. That's Mimi in Pokuasi who sent that message.
At some point, too, I think it is important for us to be the eyes and the ears of the EPA. Because I remember that when I was in Buckingham, there was this tree branch that was disturbing me at night. Like it fell on my roof. And when I'm studying, Charlie, you know, the air, crack. So one morning I just got up.
Ganama, it took us. We're going to cut it.
The people called the people.
Somebody called it. Was it a big branch?
Yeah, it was a big branch. Like I thought that, you know, village, you don't have to ask permission from anybody. So
you took your village mind there. And you went to cut the tree. So you climbed the window.
I was going to, so I was in the process and the people came that door.
You don't do that.
But there's a big issue.
Yeah, it is. You can't just
cast your mind to it. You move around a lot to a lot of places, especially, and I deliberately asked the question about state buildings. And the state is as guilty as can be, from the top to the bottom.
Yeah.
The local assemblies, district assemblies, whatever, right up to them. Because even when they're putting up ministries or whatever new building, you go there, tiles everywhere on the
floor. We are not enforcing even the basic
building. They themselves, they don't build ecologically.
I remember the World Bank building, one of the best buildings I've seen. They had a big tree. They built around the tree.
Yeah.
It's a very green building. So if you leave a room, the light goes off after 5 seconds. They have used solar. Like the trouble is that you don't even need to learn any new thing. It's not like you need to go to any new school.
The technology exists already.
Everything that we need exists. We just don't want to do it. And when our indecision catches up with us, we discuss it round. When things normalize, we go back to our same old behavior. Sometimes nature will punish you for not doing what you have to do. And you just have to learn from all of that.
Cutting them down.
of the traditional leaders there who's calling for calm as a way of getting, particularly the young people, to desist, because we're told, for example, that they blocked the main Tamale Walewale Road. Indeed, the graphic is reporting that the youth of the Mamprugu traditional area are resisting attempt by security agencies to arrest the overlord of Mamprugu, Na Bohagu Mahami Abdullah Sheriga II, and a supposedly new Boku Naba Alhaji Seidu Abagre. Armed military personnel last Sunday night stormed the Nalergu town, the traditional seat of Mamprugu, to pick up the overlord and Alhaji Abagre, but the move was resisted by the youth of the area. The action followed a warrant issued by the High Court in Bogatanga for the arrest of the two traditional leaders for their involvement in the enskinment of a new chief for Boku last Wednesday. The youth took over the palace of the two chiefs, leading to a standoff with the military, who subsequently retreated. The youth later, however, vandalized the local police station and a new patriotic party office in the town. They yesterday also blocked all major roads in the region, including the Bogatanga Highway, creating heavy vehicular traffic on the ECOWAS Trunk Road, and bent tires to register their displeasure at the action of the military. Police intervention to quell the virtual riot proved futile as the personnel were chased away by the agitated youth. Eyewitnesses told the Daily Graphic. The MCE for West Mamprusi Assembly, Isahaku Arimaya Somo, told the Graphic that the situation was volatile and that the security was doing its best to bring it under control. The situation is very disturbing, but we are doing everything possible to calm the youth down and clear the roads for traffic to flow. The Municipal Security Council has also convened an emergency meeting to find quick answers to handle the situation. And then the other angles to the story, for example, Vice Chairman of the Nalergu Youth Association, Jonathan Alasan Musa, described the bench warrant for the arrest of Nairi and the supposed new chief as unfortunate, saying the youth will do everything possible to fiercely resist the attempt to do this. And then it goes on and on and on. The background is that on February 5, the overlord of Mamprugu enskined a new Boku Naba, despite the recognition of Naba Asigri Abukrago Azoka II by the government and Upper East Regional House of Chiefs as the legitimate ruler of the area. What I found interesting was yesterday in the vetting of the minister designated for chieftaincy, there were questions around chieftaincy disputes, but there was no, again, I could be wrong. I listened to probably 45% of the interaction. I did not hear a direct question about this. I heard questions about chieftaincy disputes and official records of lineage. And I think, as Abi said, there were only 6 traditional areas that had done the full, I think, like a list of the lineage properly gazetted and certified. It says only 6. So he said it felt like that was one of the things that would be needed to be done to avoid chieftaincy disputes.
Yes, who's going to do it?
So I thought it was interesting, the absence of a direct question on this. Possibly because it also borders on national security, and sometimes you want to draw the line. You don't want to commit the minister. So maybe they were being responsible.
Yes.
But I feel maybe they could have held it in camera and still asked him, because Ministry of Chieftaincy will be very key together with interior ministries and security ministries in dealing with these matters, because they are multi-layered. Godfred, you know this.
Yes.
It's not just a chieftaincy issue, it's a security issue, and there are other issues involved as well.
Yes.
Right.
It's a really, really, really dicey situation that the state currently has to deal with. An area that has consistently been unstable. It looks like the flames have been rekindled there. There never seems to be a very conclusive end to discourse or some level of peace. There happens once in a while, and this is just another escalation. The state, my focus will be on this because I've listened to some of the parties in there. If it's a kind of situation where if you are not privy to the different contexts, you need to be careful with how you say it and what you say. Okay. And I've listened to different reports from our own reporters from other places on what is happening there. And it does look like there are clear drawn lines there. And at the moment, the biggest one seems to be the state and the community. And so I will address the state and the community in mind, rather than what is.
So what has the state done? 2 things. The government sent a press release signed by the Information Minister describing the purported enskinment of the new Boku Naba, or the Boku Naba in Nalergu, as illegal and a threat to national security. Then a court issued an arrest warrant for the newly skinned Naba and also the Nairi, which the military wanted to execute, which then was forced. So those are the two things government has done. I think they I don't know if they sent a press release before this, but this is the two main things: the press statement and then the court issue.
Yeah. Now, in looking at how the state has handled this, my observation is that maybe a bit more tact is required in bringing calm to the situation. Looking at the reportage that we've had generally across the week, the state might also have its own strategy for because it might also have more information than we do sitting here. But what is quite clear at the moment, listening to some of the voices from the youth and whatever, is like they feel the state is vested in some of the parties who are involved in this, born out of some of the utterances and some of the responses. So I'm just urging the state in its handling of this matter to always be mindful or be minded by what it says, how it does it, the timing of those things, so that it does not lead to anger or a certain level of escalation. We can also send that same advice to the community, okay, in this regard. But quite frankly, at the moment, it's a very difficult situation for the people who are there, or considering the fact that security-wise, this also happens to be a very it's a red zone, sort of, because this is where we also have the refugees coming in from the Burkina Faso situation. This is where we also have the concerns that if there will be any problems from the Burkina Faso incidents in Ghana to come from. So we need to be very careful. There's a lot happening in just that small part of the country right now, and the state just needs to be really careful with how it handles this.
Let me speak to Kambona Bandana Anzim Wusamanga, who's the chief of Langbishi, and he's also a regent for the Mampugu Kingdom. One of the titles is chief warrior. He has also expressed some concerns privately about this. I just wanted to pick his brains on what's going on and what ought to be done to restore calm to the area. Kambona, welcome to the show. Good morning.
Good morning, Bernard.
It's good to have you. How are you doing? What is your feeling about what's going on in the Mampugu area in general, and then the northeast and the upper east region in particular?
I didn't get the initial part. If I get,
I said, what are your feelings about what's going on in Nalerigu and surrounding areas? I'm sure you are privy to the situation that started from Sunday.
For me, it's a rather unfortunate situation we find ourselves here, particularly because I see Boku as, if we all saw Boku as a trade hub, sharing borders with Burkina Faso and Togo, you should know that a lot of business potential is there. But what's happening? People who have the potential to do business in these areas have to move out of these areas, and then the economic situation becomes very, very poor and low. On top of it, innocent lives are those who are, being affected by these issues. And it's sad for me that we have to get to this point. But I believe that there's more we can do to put an end to it. And I think that everybody must come on board so that we can put an end to this situation.
What is the situation in Nalerigu and the surrounding towns? Because yesterday we were told, for example, that the main Tamale-Bolga road had been blocked at Waliwali. Do you know if calm has been restored? What's the situation like in terms of security?
Well, life has come, it's become calm. Everybody is normal now, but I know that everybody is on high alert because it took some form of local intelligence to have known that a military and police team were coming at night to arrest the newly installed Boku Naba. So, of course, yes, they may not be on the street at this point, but I'm sure that they probably are so alert to pick up anything that is going to happen, and then they can spread out again. So I think that all opinion leaders are speaking to the young people so that everybody stays calm, so that those who matter can come together, and then we can get a lasting solution to this situation.
Have you been able to speak to the young people in your own town of Langbisi? Have you been in touch with them, and what is the message to them?
Well, you see, when the news spread that a team was coming to arrest the Nairi and the newly installed Boku Naba, everybody saw that as a total disrespect. Whether indeed this call was true or not, the mere fact that they saw military and police present means there was a confirmation that this was what was happening, based on a court order from somewhere. And it infuriated the youth and almost everybody. I mean, we saw women and men and the young people all masked up on the street. And I mean, we can't imagine such disrespect to want to arrest the Nairi. So it is only natural that you see the reaction they put up some few days ago, and you can't blame them for that, because I mean, a whole overlord to be arrested, Bernard, you know that people will not sit just like that and listen to it. I think that our security agencies and government must find ways to deal with this matter than try to, take it up in an aggressive manner.
So you think this can be resolved with more of a dialogue and conciliatory approach than the use of force?
I didn't hear that.
I say you think this can be resolved using more dialogue than the use of force?
Yes, I believe that dialogue will solve this. You know that there are two opinions to this. History will tell you that the Mampusis already were dwelling in the Boku area, and then the Kusasis came from Burkina Faso, and then, and so even the chief who was installed a few days ago happens to be the 25th chief that the Nairi has installed in Nalerigu. So
now, come on. I don't want to go into that, because the purpose of the interview is not to get into who is right or wrong. The focus of the interview is to try and restore calm to the area and get who has to prevail. So I would rather advise that you do not, because I'm sure there are different people, when I ask, they will have their own versions of this history. So I just wanted to stay within the confines of restoring calm and having a lasting solution to the matter, not to go back into a historical narrative, please.
Okay, I'll try to create an example, but either way, let me move on. The dialogue is important. You see, we have left only the two factions to deal in solving the issue. We believe that to get to a lasting solution, every single Ghanaian must be interested in it. The media must be interested. The politician must be interested. The Council of State must be interested. The Christian Council must also be interested. And then the Chieftaincy Affairs Ministry must also be interested. This can go out of proportion, which we don't want that to go. We believe that there's more we can benefit in peace than what will destroy us. So I believe dialogue, a commission to be created, a committee to be created, and everybody is on board to ensure that we have a lasting, peaceful situation in this area.
Thank you very much for talking to us. That was Kambona Bandana and Zimusa, who's the chief of Langbisi, speaking to us on the matters in Nalerigu and surrounding areas. It's calling for peace. It's calling for calm. It's asking for who has to prevail. It's 8:47 on the Citi Breakfast Show. And as we said yesterday, 3 ministers designated were vetted. And unsurprisingly, Asabi's questions had to do with chieftaincy and its role in national security, national development. I'm not sure if you follow the whole vetting. I think you were on television at some point discussing. What are general impressions on the... Okay, first, let's start with the tone, because the minority had already said in their press conference that they were calling for a reduced government based on what the party has said. So if you look at the build-up and then the way it actually transpired, what would you say it was what you expected, the whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, to a large extent, I would say that statement and the natural reaction from the MPP side basically set the tone for what we saw yesterday. For any fair-minded person looking at what was happening, it would seem that the minority side, naturally, they should be very thorough with the job that they do. But someone would say that, okay, they went there with a predetermined mindset because, first of all, you will not vote to endorse the person anyway at the end of the day if the party position is anything to go by. But yet you have people who would go there and seek to be agents provocateurs. I mean, with the greatest respect to them. So instead of doing a job which would basically deal with the person's competence or otherwise, or suitability for the job, sometimes the question gets asked whether the attempt was not to embarrass as opposed to distilling issues that will help you make an informed position. So it's while very crucial issues came out, while issues about whether the person can perform the job came out, there were other occasions where I thought that there was an attempt to rifle or rattle or provoke.
But is that not all part of the... I mean, what are you vetting for? You are vetting for suitability. You are vetting for competence, qualification. There's also emotional suitability. So can we not say that this is fair game?
You can say it is fair game if you are dealing with it within the concept or within the context of what will guide you as a member of parliament or as a group to take a decision. But in this case, you have already made a decision. So if you go there, on what basis are you asking the question? Question to help you do what? Because, look, the reason I'm saying this is that the Constitution imposes discretionary power, I would argue, on a member of parliament because you are taking a decision regarding someone's fate. The person may or may not become a minister. So when you have that discretion to approve or not approve, the Constitution tells us that you must be fair and candid. You must not go there with a mindset already predetermined. You must go there knowing that, you are going to be fair to the witness before you. So if you go and you already have a predetermined mindset, you are clearly...
Pascal, when you listen to the questions that the minority asked generally, had it not been for the press statement that Fifi Kwete, the General Secretary of NDC, signed, listening ordinarily to the question, you wouldn't have thought these guys were prejudiced because these are standard questions.
Okay, so
I'm trying to say if you take the questions on their own, of course the vetting has been colored by the NDC statement and then the minority press, the press conference prior to. But a lot of the questions I thought were, Eric Opoku's questions to the Greek minister designate, questions from Giselle. These are standard questions.
Yes. So I made that admission that there were those questions we sought to bring out the very best of the candidate, whether he's good for the job. There were those questions which sought to test the temperament of the candidate. And then there were those questions which were plainly designed, in my view, and I'm speaking my view here, to provoke the person. So let's cut to the chase.
But provoking the person is the same as testing temperament, or how do you test a candidate's temperament? If I want to employ you and I want to test your temperament, I could place you in a high pressure situation to see how you react. Your temperament is how you respond. So I'm saying you can't separate point 2, point 3.
It depends on how you look at it. If the purpose is to merely test, it's one thing. But if the purpose is calculated to embarrass, it's another matter. Because, as we always say, Parliament is a house of records. And that committee sitting yesterday was doing the job of Parliament, strictly speaking. So all the rules that apply ordinarily in Parliament apply there. That's why Joe Osei-Owusu is there doing the umpire role that a speaker would ordinarily play. So one of the things I saw, given some of the troubles we had yesterday, was that it would seem that Honorable Joe Osei-Owusu did not do so much as to provide the kind of ground rules needed for yesterday's vetting, specifically in relation to the Honorable Katie Amon. Why am I making this point? The point is that at some point, people spent money anyhow in the name of judgment debts. So when a new government came into office, the Mills government thought that, look, we need to investigate this. It was because of the Woyome matter and many other matters that came up. So they set up a commission of inquiry to look into the matter. And that is provided for under the Constitution. And if you look at the provisions of, Article, 284 of the Constitution, 278 actually.
Commissions of inquiry.
That deals with commissions of inquiry.
Why reports can be used for white papers and things
exactly.
like that.
Now, if you look closely at the requirements of the law says that where a finding is made against you, and that finding is adverse, and the commission for some reason decides that, okay, yes, this is so serious enough, we are banning you from holding a public office. Where 6 months have come to go, and you did not go to court to challenge the content of that report, or the president releases or government releases a white paper on the subject matter regarding the findings, that will operate as a judgment of the High Court.
So the white paper becomes a judgment.
Exactly. Now, the position now is different from what used to be the case in the 60s. And if you read the judgment of Justice Malfusau, the late, solid judgment, on the case of Wereko Brobe and Kojo Pienim versus the Republic. He laid out the law as to what should happen in those matters, which is what? First of all, there must be a claim of some wrongdoing or not. There must be a subject matter to be investigated. A commission must investigate it. Findings must be made. And then also there must be question of whether someone has been found, to have breached the law. And then how that operates against the person. What happened in the case of Honorable Katie Amon? We were told that he sold some drill ship on the authority of a power of attorney that he got from the Attorney General at the time, who is the President of the Republic today. Having sold this, the money was used for...
So the background is that Ghana, GMPC owed about 40-something million. We had incurred the judgment debt, and then after the MPP came into power, the president directed the Energy Ministry to take care of this. So Katie Amon in his first 3 months was asked to go and first negotiate. So he went to beat down the thing from about 40 to 24. And then we had a number of assets that then they decided to sell one to use to
pay
offset
off.
the pay.
Offset
So
the okay.
We were owing 40-something. It was reduced to 24 by negotiation. He went to get the drill ship sold for
to
around
pay some
24.
of the money,
He paid, and then the rest he paid into the account of the government. So he believes that he did the right thing.
He did, right.
Now, some people feel that the whole decision to sell the drill ship, the whole decision to negotiate, they could have contested because they feel, for example, that Attorney General at the time could have entered appearance to defend all the claims. So there's a lot of things. Some of it is politics. So what I'm going for is the rules you were talking about. So there's something that came to me during the panel, the discussion. So he wanted to read something. And then the Jose also said, you haven't tendered it yet, so you cannot rely on it. Katie Amon was upset what Suhini was reading and said, what Suhini is reading has nothing to do with what is in the report. So Suhini tendered what he had, Katie tendered what he had. Now, chairman, and in defense of the chairman of the committee said, look, you guys are not playing by the rules because you've given me something, you've not allowed me to receive it and use it, and you started sharing it for other people to share and use in their questioning. So I'm saying that I'm trying to defend the guy in saying that one of the reasons why he allowed the thing to degenerate a bit was that there were some rules he has set out that they all agreed on that they then decided to ignore. So he says, well, if you are going to be firing from this document that you haven't properly tendered, then I'm going to allow the guy to also answer for as long as he could. Then Sweeney said, no. I asked one question which I didn't even finish asking, and the guy is answering for too long. And then the man says, well, because the document that you've brought in that I'm supposed to receive, that I'm supposed to now use in questioning, everybody else has a document. So I'm just saying that because of the background that has colored the whole thing, I think the deputy speaker was very exemplary. When I watched his demeanor in the way he conducted the affairs, good humor, strict, managing all the... Because this is a new minority leadership as well. So I actually feel he did a really good job in trying to manage, because this could have generated to a point where there would have been a walkout.
Okay, so let me put it this way. You see, his job there was to set the parameters for questioning. What was the premise of Suhini's question? What he was seeking to do was to suggest that Honorable Katie Hammond had been positively found by the Commission of Inquiry that investigated him to have done something wrong. which the wrongdoing would have meant that there was adverse finding, which adverse finding would have led to the conclusion that, he was by reason of that adverse finding
unfit
to hold public office. Now, Parliament is a house of records. There is no finding rising to the level of a disqualifying event.
We are referring to sole commissioners.
Exactly.
Work, and this is page 12 of the. Sorry. Sole commissioners work. This is page 12. For those of you who are interested, we can put that on our website. You can read the full. It's not very long. There's a redacted version that I have. I don't know if you've seen the full report. Yeah. It dealt with many judgment debt cases. Isophoton was there. There were quite a number of them.
No, so what you have is the government white paper because the report itself was not published.
Okay, so the white paper is what we have.
So the white paper, which is in line with the Constitution, is that government document that comes out with a comment of the government on the work that had been done.
Wonderful.
So that government paper says that the IOCO should go and investigate the gray areas raised by the work of the commission. In other words, the commission did not make any conclusive finding. In fact, in their language, they said that the whole sale was shrouded in mystery.
Let me read what the white paper said on KTM. I think it will help us because this matter keeps coming up. It's rather longish, so I'm going to go to the conclusion. But the background: 7. Societe Generale versus GMPC. Commission made the following findings of fact. GMPC entered a contract involving derivatives of hedging with the SG, a French commodities bank, in 1996 under the NDC government. A dispute arose and SG sued GMPC in a London High Court over payments that SG alleged GMPC owed it. GMPC denied the claims and counter claimed against SG through its external lawyers, Bidman and Partners, for negligent advice given by the SG. Subtle attempts by the two parties to settle the matter out of court came to no avail. In 2001, the MPP government, which had replaced the NDC government, wrote to dispense with the service of Bidman and Partners, the GMP's external lawyers in the case, and asked Attorney General Honorable Akufo-Addo at the time to assume responsibility for conduct of the case. This point 6. The government of Ghana, through Deputy Minister of Energy Katie Amond, resumed the settlement talks with SG, but the government neither appeared to defend SG's action in the London High Court nor informed the court about the out-of-court settlement attempts. So this would really be in the alley of the Attorney General. All right? But you see how the thing is written. So this Attorney General's written. The London High Court entered a default judgment against the GMPC for $47 million in June 2001. At the time of the default judgment, SG had accepted a final out-of-court settlement of $40 million for the government of Ghana. So this is where the sole commissioner will be raising his red flag. Now, point 9. Honorable Katie Amond was sent by the president of Ghana, J. Kufuor, to Paris and London to amicably resolve the $47 million default judgment debt with SG by convincing the company to accept the $40 million out-of-court settlement instead of insisting on the 47 judgment debt. According to the commission, Honorable Katie Amond, quote, who was in the thick of affairs, had this to say: "My lord, I also think partly because after 10 years practice at the Bar of England and Wales, my minister felt confident I could settle the judgment that had been entered. You go and plead your case with those you owe and see what they could do about it," he said. "My lord." So I left. I went to Paris, back to London, and then back to Paris, to and fro. The result of Katie Amond's effort was a compromise settlement of 19.5 million. So the thing has been beaten down from 47 to 19.5. But somebody can say, if we had done what we should have done, probably before he came or by his bosses, the 14 is what we would have paid, be that as it may. Point 10. The government of Ghana then decided to sell one of GMPC's marine assets, the drill ship, Discover 511, a going profit-making concern, to pay off the compromise settlement amount of 19.5. Acting MD of GMPC, Dr. Forukwa, was made to sign. So the language of the white paper is interesting. Was made to sign power of attorney for and on behalf of GMPC in the office of the Attorney General, empowering the Honorable Katie Amond to sell the drill ship Discover 511 while in London and use the proceeds to pay off the debt owed by GMPC. I hope you follow this. Yeah. Point XII, which is point 12. Honorable Katie Amond sold the drill ship for $24 million, used 19.5 million to pay off the debt, and gave 1 million to the London solicitors who had represented Ghana in the drill ship sale negotiation, Constant, out of which they were asked to take $100,000 for their services and keep the balance of $900,000 to cater for future debts of GMPC to other creditors. He then handed over the remaining $3.5 million to Ghana's High Commission in London. So he's finished his job. Okay. Ghana's High Commissioner in London, Ambassador Chris Bodo, handed over the check for the amount to the staff of the Treasury Office of the Controller and Accountant General's Department office in London, who used it to open a special account at the Ghana International Bank in London. So some people are asking why the money was spent there. But this is really, you can say, beyond the money. He's giving the money to the ambassador. He's finished his work. Point XIV. This was how money belonging to the corporation, GMPC, which was alleged to be in huge financial distress, was utilized on the blind side of the management and board of the corporation, contrary to Act 64 of the established the corporation. So you can say, okay, let me go on. On the judgment, debt, and the sale of the drill ship transaction, the commission made the following findings and observations. So this is the meat of the thing. One, the Attorney General Nana Akufo-Addo failed to make an appearance in the London High Court after dispersing with GMPC's external lawyers, Bidman and Partners. So the president asked him to take over, but he didn't go to the court. At the time this happened, the government of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Energy, had wrongfully taken over the running of the affairs of the GMPC. So in the view of the sole commissioner, GMPC should have done this on its own. The GMPC had all along been contesting SG's claim since 1999 and had put up a strong defense and a counterclaim. 4. The acting MD of GMPC, Dr. Forikwa, was not given room. So again, he is not made the active subject here. The report is making him seem like he was being pushed around to operate and was coerced into signing the power of attorney prepared at the Attorney General's office to empower Honorable Katie Amon to sell the GMPC's marine asset, the drill ship Discoverer 511. The AG, Honorable Akufo-Addo, failed to bring to the attention of the London High Court the settlement attempts. It was this failure that led to the entry of the 47 million default judgment against GMPC. So a default judgment is that you didn't show up, so you've lost the case. It's not like you've gone and argued and lost. So a default judgment, based on what the law is I say, Koku, you've done something against me. Koku doesn't show up. And they say, well, if Koku doesn't show up, silence means consent, right? It was this failure that made it possible for the people to demand more than the $40 million that they had earlier agreed to accept as final settlement of the suit. The payment of $19.5 million instead of the $14 million earlier on agreed constituted financial loss to the corporation and Ghana. Government interference in the running of the affairs of GMPC accounted to a large extent for the financial loss. Now, here's now their ruling. On the balance, on how the balance of 3.5 was utilized, the commission made the following findings and observations. The check for the amount was paid into an account that was opened with the Ghana International Bank by the Treasury Office of the Controller and Accountant General in London. 1.65 million out of the amount was used to defray alleged debt owed by GMPC. Alleged debts. 3. $169,000 was used to pay salaries of staff not properly described in October 2003 to March 2004. $141,000 was transferred into a different account with the same bank. The utilization of the transferred money remains a mystery to date. So that's point 4. The outstanding balance of 1.5 million is unaccountable debt for to date. The two accounts were closed in December 2005. 7. There was no justification for paying the amount of 3.5 million into a new account because as the proceeds were from the sale of a GMPC asset, it belonged to the GMPC and should have been paid into GMPC's account. 8. Records on the sale of the drill ship Discover 511 disappeared from the offices of the Attorney General's Department and the Ministry of Energy, only for Katie Amon to present the Commission a sealed envelope, which he claimed contained the alleged relevant documents. His explanations being that a good Samaritan who he never identified, left it in his pigeonhole in Parliament House. 9. The Commission's conclusion is that, quote, the totality of these developments raises strong suspicion that the whole transaction involving the sale of the drill ship 511 is shrouded in a mystery. Right, let's repeat this. The Commission's conclusion is that the totality of these developments raises strong suspicion that the whole transaction involving the sale of the drill ship is shrouded in a mystery. The Greek call it Ministerial. It's mysterious. In the light of the established facts and findings and observations made by the Commission, the government accepts the following recommendations of the Commission. 1. Minister of Finance and officials of Controller and Accountant General's Department at the High Commission in London at the time in question, between 01 and 06, should be made to 1. Render proper accounts of how the money that was lodged in the account was disbursed since it belonged to GMPC. Explain what happened to the 141,000 that was transferred to a second account. Explain what happened to the balance of 1.5 that was left. Explain how the law firm which assisted the sale negotiations, Constant, disbursed the 900,000 that was paid. 2. The executive arm of government should be slow in interfering in the running of state institutions, we know this already. Government directs the IOCO to undertake the following. In one above, government further directs IOCO to investigate the mandate, authority, and or basis of KT Hamon's disbursement of the 900,000 to a law firm, Constant to cater for fund future debts owed GNPC to other creditors. So this is the only thing said about him at the end. So let me repeat what they said. Government directs IOCO to investigate the mandate, authority, and or basis of how Honorable KT Hamon's disbursement of the 900,000 to a law firm, Constant to cater for the further debts of GNPC. So what riled KT Hamon was what Suhini read, purporting to come from some document about his adverse behavior, which is why he said this is absolute balderdash. The report says nothing like that. So he was upset. Now, I just wanted to explain the legal point to me. So this white paper has come and is asking IOCO to do something. Investigate the mandate that gave him the right to do what he did. Has IOCO done this?
So that's the matter that we do not have the right conclusion to. But first of all, even that directive to the IOCO to investigate the matter further, with the greatest respect, was wrong in law. Because if you read the judgment of Justice Mafosao in the Wereku Brobe case, he made it clear that if as a government, your intention is to find facts which will constitute the basis for prosecuting a person, a public official, or someone who has done something that has led to losses to the state, you should use the traditional institutions for investigating these matters. The police, the SFO, what do you call it? The
SFO now, IOCO.
Exactly, these institutions. But the moment you elect as a government to go the route of a commission of inquiry, the matter is close to you. It is not up to you.
But Sky, we know that a lot of white papers have been done. You know, a lot of people feel like commissions of inquiry have become very ineffective because people will sit down and do a lot of hard work, come up with a report, and then our government can sit somewhere in somebody's room and write a white paper to just rubbish the whole thing. CRC did a fantastic job with their constitutional review. Somebody writes a white paper to basically accept or reject. IASO World is the same. So I feel like what you're saying about this is true for the way we've put the whole commissions of inquiry and then government white paper together plus the court cases. All right. Now, my main issue here is that whether we agree with the white paper or not, oughtn't IOCO to have done what they were said to have done so that it will bring the matter to rest? Because if IOCO had investigated the so-called mandate and came up with some finding and said, by the way, we think there's nothing on what the guy's mandate was, they would have put the whole thing to bed.
No, you see, then that was the failure on the part of the commission to do its work.
What do you mean?
Because what conclusion you read?
The commission
said what?
No,
the whole thing was shrouded in mystery.
Yes.
After spending so many millions of our CDs, summoning people and asking questions, the mandate to demand from you, a witness, that produced this document.
So to end the whole thing and say the thing is mysterious.
Exactly. I mean,
we finish our work, but there are aspects of the work that we don't know.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Does it mean that those details were beyond their mandate?
No,
that they were incompetent to find information?
It was perfectly within their mandate.
So you have been asked to go and find out why something happened, and you said the thing is a mystery.
It's a mystery. I mean, so what purpose was the use of money?
Maybe they are saying that the nature of the issues requires experts. But think about it. The commission made specific findings. For example, they said the Attorney General should have entered the appearance. He did not. So they feel like he didn't do the right thing. And now this is now a small issue of how money was disbursed. And not say the guy took the money for himself. He gave the money to an embassy.
Yeah, and then also to some solicitors. Good.
Then you're saying that the IOCO, so possibly the commission is saying we don't have the mandate to investigate.
No, they have not said they don't have the mandate. They said the whole thing was shrouded in mystery.
So is that they don't have the mandate or they're incompetent?
No, you see, the mandate was go out there and investigate all matters concerning judgment debt.
Yeah, my point is that do commissions of inquiry have the... So what I'm trying to drive at is that if there are technical aspects of investigations...
Yes, you can rely on traditional institutions to help you.
But the commission should have finished the work and come up with a definite conclusion.
Because that was why you were set up.
So that description they put there is what gave the government, the white paper writers, the impetus to now call on IOCO to do what he did.
But they don't.
Which IOCO to Did Yoko do it?
No, KT, according to him, I think there was some invitation or some discussion, and he went there and showed them some.
But has Yoko issued any report?
No, we didn't see any report.
So you blame the original commission for not finishing the work?
Exactly, because look, the reason is that findings of such commissions have serious consequences when they are adverse for individuals. For instance, you may not be able to hold a public office for 10 years or more if the commission so says that we found that you did A, B, C, D.
But let me take you back. The qualification for minister is the same as qualification for MP, right? In a sense of whether you are in good standing. So what disqualifies somebody for becoming an MP? Per the letter of the law, disqualifies you from becoming a minister. So if a person is an MP without any problem, why should his becoming a minister be an issue?
You see, so that is where the issue. But let me just.
No, I wanted to deal with that because I think that we are spending a lot of airtime discussing something which may not even be an issue, because if K.T. Hammond is an MP and the Constitution describes what an MP must be, or a certain age, sound mind, no adverse findings. Once he qualifies to be an MP, he qualifies to be a minister.
Okay,
so once we haven't contested his MPship, why should we contest his ministership?
Okay, so let me unpack that. The reason why we should still look into them is that between the time you became a member of parliament and the time you are nominated to become a minister, there could have been intervening developments that disqualify you from even serving as a member of parliament in the first place. So that if you are disqualified by reason of that intervening development to become a member of parliament, then naturally it flows that you cannot become a minister of state.
But these are matters of fact. Do we know of any intervening development between the man was sworn in as early as January 7, 2021 in this term as MP. Between January 7 this year and February 21, which was yesterday, or is it February 20 yesterday? Are there any factual intervening developments?
No.
So that's what I'm saying, that this is politics.
No, you see, Bernard. You see, that's why I was trying to measure what the Honorable Joe Sewusu did.
So what should he have done?
So you see, what is the position of the law? For you to be disqualified from running or be in office as a minister of state, the law says, in respect of a commission of inquiry report, the report must make findings that are adverse, and there must be express prohibition as a result of the adverse findings made. You, the person affected, must not have gone to court, within the constitutionally prescribed 6-month period, to have challenged the findings so made. Or the government must have truncated the 6-month requirement with a white paper, which white paper will basically say, we accept or reject some parts of the report, or we are happy with what has been done. In the case of Honorable K.T. Hammond, first of all, was there an adverse finding made that he stole some money or took some money? There's nothing like that in the report that we've seen. In the government white paper, was there any suggesting that he stole some money? There was nothing like that. And therefore, was there any adverse finding made specifically against him? No. In the report that you read, is there an express prohibition that Honorable K.T. Hammond should not hold public office?
But that's the point, Basiskai. That's part of the art and the quoting. That's why the deputy majority leader was trying to lead him in evidence to say.
No, let me just finish.
You're finished. I'm basically saying that his temperament was also in at play, because you see, you are saying, as a matter of fact, this is a non-issue. But because of the way it was allowed to roll, he got angry. And then that riled everybody. Then, what's it called? Apenyo Makin comes in and tries to sort of guide him through the questions you're asking now. But he sort of says, you know what? I just want to take on these guys and defend myself because I have the history for this. And there's nothing here.
You see, Bernard, that's why I'm saying that. From the very beginning, the what do you call it? The chairman of the committee ought to have intervened and set out the parameters clearly. That the provision you are seeking to rely on is not in play because the requirements of the law have not been satisfied. So Suhini, a great friend of mine, and I have so much respect for him, my colleague for that matter, reads something which is not, it's a parliament, it's a house of record.
How could the chairman at the time have found out that it wasn't in the report? Because it was after the man read it that he then tendered it. So he didn't have it in front of him.
You see, so that should also be an issue that we should raise about the procedure used at the committee. Because some of these things, it should not be like you are springing surprise on a witness who is before you. The witness must have some expectation that he knows sufficient.
So, for example, he could have printed relevant portions of the white paper.
Yes.
Given to the chairman, who then will give to the witness and say, page 42, what I'm reading. Then we all read.
Yes.
And then we all ask the question.
Yes.
But you don't read it.
You don't hide the document, put it under your armpit, and then the man is...
So let me ask you. So let's assume he wanted to rely on the thing to ask a question, and then the chairman says tender it. He tenders it. What must happen by best practice? Must they then go and print copies and share? So everybody then has it, and then he says, let's go back to the question.
So if the matter, I believe, fair play, if it was sufficiently serious enough as to disqualify him, what the committee could have done was to rule that, look, this is a very serious matter. It could have implications for him becoming a minister or not. It would affect what we do and what we do not do. Let us rise for, say, 10 hours or 2 hours or 30 minutes so that we can look at the authenticity of the document, whether it is even admissible in the sense of what we are doing, and then make a determination. So they go away, look at it. When they reconvene, then they say that, okay, Honorable Suhini, we've looked at this matter. The document you seek to rely on is genuine.
So now you can proceed.
Exactly.
Okay.
Subject to a satisfaction that, look, the law is properly in play. But if you look at it, with everything we have read here, the law was not in place. So why the hula baloo about that particular matter? When it had been determined before by this commission that there was no issue there, there was mystery, okay, then the government said somebody should go and investigate it. Yoko, in my view, didn't even have proper authority to be investigating matters arising out of the commission of inquiry. The reason is, if you read the judgment of concerning Wereku Brobe, what the government at the time did was to want to prosecute Charles Wereku Brobe and Kojo Opianim for having caused financial loss to the state after adverse findings had been made against them. And they caused the Attorney General and to direct some other institutions to investigate them. The guys went to court after charges were filed against them and said, oh, no, the findings that were made and the prohibitions that were exacted by the Commission of Inquiry operate against us as a judgment of the High Court.
So you can't go to court and try a man twice in the same matter.
So you cannot take me back to the High Court and seek to, put me on trial.
What they've said is final.
Exactly.
You can't try a man twice for the same matter.
In any case, at the time, the 6-month requirement hadn't been, had not.
So that then became a seminal judgment in discussing white papers.
Exactly. So the court said that, look, if you take the man back to the High Court, you are breaching the Constitution, because the expectation is that if he has issues, he should go to the Court of Appeal, because the Court of Appeal is on top of the High Court. And that they have not yet got.
So you are saying that if a High Court has made a judgment and the only place that you can seek redress is the appeal court, there's no way Iyoko is empowered to even touch that.
Yeah, that's right.
So, but if Iyoko,
because it's arising,
but what Iyoko was asked to do was it not inquisitorial? Because they are saying they should go and investigate. They didn't say they should use it to. You understand? Because they're saying findings of a commission of inquiry are the judgment of a High Court. So that judgment
provided some constitutional requirements.
So what I'm saying is that what Iyoko was being asked to do was to go and seek for more information.
Bernard, that's why I'm saying that commission sitting there. I mean, let me just help you with the powers that commissions of inquiry have. Then you would understand the weight of things that they are supposed to do. First of all, if you go to Article 278 of the Constitution. Let me go to clause 2 and then read downwards. It says a commission appointed under clause 1 of this article may consist of the sole commissioner or 2 or more persons, one of whom shall be appointed the chairman of the commission. 3 says a person shall not be appointed a sole commissioner or chairman of a commission of inquiry under this article unless he is, 1, listen to the people, a justice of the Superior Court of Judicature, or B, a person qualified to be appointed a justice of the Superior Court of Judicature, or C, a person who has held office as a justice of the Superior Court of Judicature, or D, a person who possesses special qualifications or knowledge in respect of the matter investigated.
So you're saying
now powers, let me deal with the powers.
Take it quickly.
2791 says a commission of inquiry shall have the powers, rights, and privileges of the High Court or a justice of the High Court at a trial in respect of one, which is A, enforcing the attendance of witnesses and examining them on oath, affirmation, or otherwise. So they could have summoned anybody concerning this particular matter to deal with it. B, compelling the production of documents. And C, the issue of a commission or request to examine witnesses abroad. And then 2 also says that a sole commissioner or member of the commission of inquiry shall not be liable for any action suit in respect of, which is not really, material in this particular case. So the point I'm making is that we spend so much money, got this commission to do its work. They had every power within the limits of the law, as stated here, to say that, Katie Hammond, we need this document.
Yeah, Pascal, I get you, but you see, they've done their work, and their conclusion is that
the thing was mystery. So why should a member of parliament go to, the committee, and then read what would seem to be, or what was alleged to be a report of the committee?
But do we have the report of the committee in public domain?
No. We saw what some people said was the report. But even in that,
Is the full report available?
Yes, it's available.
Because what we've seen is the white paper and portions of the report quoted.
It's available, but it's not been published, so it's not official. The government didn't publish.
Parliament ask for it?
Oh yeah, of course they can.
So if Joe Sewusu was minded, he could have asked for the full report and then asked Sweeney to quote.
Yeah, that's right.
And then that would have put the matter to bed.
Yeah, so we should ask Sweeney where he got what he read from.
Well done. 24 minutes past 9, 97.3 CDFM. That was a long-winded way of getting into the law. The long shot is that go to school. That's the whole problem.
No, but I have a simple question before you take it. So did you live with any conviction that Katie Hammond will be a useful minister?
I think your choice of words is not pleasant to me. If you say useful minister, in what sense?
No, I'm asking.
The position is there.
Is that not why we were listening for 2 hours yesterday?
No, I think you are out of order because
how?
The position of trade minister has been occupied by somebody before he came.
Was the person useful?
No, but that's very subjective.
That's what I'm asking you.
No, but what is
that's what I'm asking, an opinion.
No, what is is there an objective measure of a minister's usefulness?
No. What I am asking
because the question is very prejudicial.
No.
If you ask me whether the man will be useful,
the 40 minutes.
If the question was like, will he deliver on this or will he do
hold
that?
on.
But if you say will he be useful,
you made a point. Your first point to Sky before you started this long debate was on suitability. How are you going to judge suitability? Is that objective?
Yes, but their suitability is subjective. No, so based on law, is he qualified? Right.
No, the questions you were asking about riling, because he said some questions were put there to rile a person.
And I'm saying that there are no, for example,
judgments of those are not objective. They're subjective.
So, for example, temperament. So you can qualify for a job.
Yes.
Academically, you can be competent because of your experience.
Yes.
And then you can be called. You can have the emotional intelligence to do a work.
Okay. Now let me rephrase that. I'm coming. So there isn't the impression that he will work out.
There isn't a scale to say 10% competence based on experience, 20% emotional intelligence, 15% background in education. So it's a mix.
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying, that the question is not necessarily properly set out. But I get a question.
So
what I would say,
do you live with the impression that he will work out?
So what I would say is that the government has a year and a half in a very difficult economic situation. Expectations are already very low because everything is going to be determined by the fiscals. So whether Brian, whatever they say, most of what's going to happen is based on what IMF is going to do and what Ken is going to do. So that's the first constraint. Number 2, the ministry itself has entered into many things. They owe many people already, particularly a Greek ministry. So there's a limit to what these guys can do. So I am managing my expectations and saying the minister who is appointed can use his personal charisma and drive to push 1 or 2 pet projects through. Okay. But major policy change is impossible. So a lot of the questions that were being asked, for example, how are you going to reduce imports? Look, do you know how much it costs to produce rice? Do you know what it means to even increase our acreage of rice by 10%? In a calendar year, it will take a very determined minister with resources
to see it through.
Do you get me? So we must manage our expectations. Key point is get a strong person who can push through, because a lot of the challenges are payment challenges. Education ministry not pay people. Agreements are not paid fertilizer people. So for me, if I were on that panel, the most important question I'll ask is how are you able to sort of negotiate with the finance ministry to release money? That's the most important quality. Your ability to get, for example, people say one of the reasons why the former education minister was considered to have done was that in his time there were a lot of outstanding payments because somehow he will go and say, Charlie, you have to pay. So if you ask me what these guys can do, particularly a Greek ministry, it's about how much money can be made available and efficiently spent. Because I don't think they have enough space for any new program. The MPP has said they are doing planting for food and jobs. Brian can't change that. Issues of import substitution. He can say he's not happy with us planting, buying tomatoes from Niger. But in a calendar year, he needs a lot of resource channeled into his space to do this. The other thing that will work for him is relationship with private sector. So if the minister has good relations with private sector, respect him, he can convince them to do a lot more things because the government budget has rigidities. So he can't do anything unless he's asked. For example, Alan can say my credibility in the private sector, AGI, Guta, because they trust me, they will give me the benefit of the doubt and front load some of their expenditures. So for me, what I was looking out for is your ability to get buy-in from the various sector actors. Apart from that, everything else is just English. And a lot of what's happening, there's also politics. And I want us to distinguish between politics of grandstanding. Because I always say Parliament, they have a lot of opportunity to do more things than they didn't do. If the minority is very serious about preventing somebody from being nominated, they know how to do it. So a lot of it is just to show that they are doing the work. So they ask questions and things. I'm not saying they're not asking the right questions. But what are they really trying to achieve? Do you understand? They are like, Charlie, this man, he wants to appoint his own ministers. Let him appoint his ministers. That's why if the thing goes to vote, the people will go through. I can bet you my salary this month that if the people are taken to secret ballot, all of them will be passed. Because the average MP is like, you know what? MPP, Anado is president. He wants this man to be his minister. Why should I prevent him? So you sitting in civil society saying, oh, he is this, his policy. It's not an objective thing they are doing. They are just playing politics. And we must distinguish. That's why our job is to analyze the thing, look at the question, where is it going? And again, judging suitability, very subjective. Because there are people who may have no patience, but they can get things done. There are people who are very patient, but they are not lazy. Okay, so I don't feel it's good to say it will be useful because it prejudices the position to say it's like they are not useful. There are ministers whose job, even if it's a placeholder, if there's no minister for some sectors, payments will not be made. Go and ask NHIA if they need a minister of health. They need him. Because because of the way our fiscals are run, monies are paid into the pool. If the minister can't go and insist that the monies due NHIA are paid, his people will not get money to be paid. Same for education, for Get Fund. So now a lot of the ministers, their main job is to now internal negotiation power in cabinet. That's all that there is, because the Ministry of Finance can decide based on some new law to decide who gets what, and they can starve you out of office. So now it's about the ability of the guy to use his stature in government to get things for his ministry. That's all it is. Everything else, trust me, you watch.
That's what I'm asking you, that when we spent all those hours, that's what I want to hear. Whether you left with a feeling that after all this debate,
for me, I think the government is limping badly, and I like the way Brian sounded. He has some energy. I hope he can translate that into something. Asabi was not surprising because we know Asabi, he likes to take charge. We wish him well. Katie Amon is experienced enough to know how to move around that ministry to do what he has to do. So I don't think there's a big issue there.
Yeah,
I think we should move.
The long or the short of what I was saying was that, you see, we should not have allowed the thing to degenerate to that point. It did not apply, so we are not dealing with it, unless you want to clarify something. Let's deal with whether the man can do the job and what he will do to make sure the job is done. All these other ones were completely unnecessary.
We'll take a couple of quick announcements, come back with a quick interview. Citi Breakfast Show, 9:31. Nathan?
Well, yeah, if you're planning your next adventure, remember, it's not just the destination, it's how you get there. And on Emirates, between departure and arrival, you get great food, you get world-class service from their cabin crew. There's even much more on Emirates Economy. Find out more at emirates.com. Now, you're getting good insights from your data for decision making. Join the data analytics revolution and empower your team to work smart, save time, and deliver insights from your data using the world's most powerful business tools, Microsoft Excel and Power BI. You can speak to Finex Skills Hub. They're offering hands-on practical training to corporates and individuals. Call them on 0244 782 356 or register via their website, finexskillshub.com. Finex Skills Hub, learn, connect, grow.
And you can start your undergraduate or master's program this March at Webster University and get up to 40% scholarship. Don't miss out on this opportunity. You open global doors when you earn a quality American master's degree in international relations, business administration, or human resources management in just about 16 months. Admissions are open for our undergraduate and graduate programs. Apply now to enroll for our March 2023 intake and get up to 40% off tuition. Call 0540-120-849 or go to webster.edu.gh. And this February, well, it's almost over, but you can still make your love month even more special with the Prudential Bank Card the Love promotion. Win amazing prizes by using your Prudential Bank debit or prepaid card for online or in-store transactions. The top 10 spenders with a minimum of 5 transactions will be rewarded with these wonderful prizes: a luxurious weekend stay for 2 at the African Region Hotel in Accra, a cozy night stay for 2 at Accra City Hotel, also in Accra, and a romantic lunch or dinner for 2 at Villandro Residence in Accra. A sumptuous lunch or dinner for 2 at Jamrock Restaurant and Grill, also in Accra. And for the 5th to 10th highest spenders, a couple's hamper with lovely gifts and branded souvenirs. Prudential Bank, truly dependable.
We'll be back with more Citi Breakfast Show 9:33. Quick interview coming up, plus more. Stay with us.
Unleashing the power of relevant radio. This is Citi 97.3.
Everybody, let me.
The Assemblies of God Ghana, just about to take a turn like never before. Join us at the Grand Arena, Accra International Conference Center on the 25th of February for the induction service of the newly elected General Superintendent, our very own Reverend Dr. Stephen Yenusom Wengam, and the outdooring of the newly elected Executive Presbytery Officers, Reverend Tito J, Reverend Dr. Enes Brikran, and Reverend Dr. Simon Abubaba. There is about to be a shift, growth, and transformation as they plan to reach, rebuild, restore, reform, reposition, and rebrand the Assemblies of God Ghana. Proverbs chapter 11 verse 14. Where no counsel is, the people fall, but there is safety in the multitude of counselors. Come, let us welcome and celebrate our new Assemblies of God leaders. God bless you.
Hey, nowadays, germs are in the air. Aren't you concerned?
Concerned about what?
About the children, of course. In times like this, they sneeze, cough, and fall ill just like that.
This is why we need to give our children and ourselves a fighting chance with the maximum protection of Dettol soap. Dettol soap not only refreshes you, but it can be used for bathing and washing hands. So keep calm. Get Dettol soap.
Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Dettol is endorsed by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association.
This advert is FDA approved.
Join the conversation on the Citi Breakfast Show on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag CitiCBS.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
Welcome back. This is still the Citi Breakfast Show. Is 9:36. Let's get into a different conversation. Let's talk about HR certification. I have Dr. Jeff Bassey, he's country director for the Global Professional HR Certification. They've got another cohort coming up soon, or they are putting together their next cohort. So we'll get into that in a bit. Doc, good morning. Welcome to the Citi Breakfast Show.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity.
Great. Let's talk about Global Professional HR Certification. Let's start off with the importance of professional certification. Why should someone get a professional certification?
Right. That's a good question, and it's a question we get all the time on why I have a certificate in the name of a degree from the university, probably a second degree, that is master's. Why do I still need to become a certified, professional? And mind you, what we are about to discuss now can be likened to being a chartered accountant or chartered marketer. This is a chartered HR, the global certification. Global certifications usually will set one apart as a sign of continual development. And I normally add that it earns you respect within the corporate arena. There's quite a fine difference between an accountant and a chartered accountant. The two are quite not the same. But it also provides you with, the professional confidence to deal with a lot of technical issues that affect, the organization. I have been in labor practice. I've served as a consultant to quite a number of organizations, at least 148. I have come across cases where there are avoidable liabilities, but because HRs do not understand the technical, issues around managing people, they drive the organizations into these avoidable liabilities. It also provides you one with cross-cultural competence, especially for an international certification of the sort. Most of the very successful companies in Ghana tend to be multinationals. Indeed, there are indigenous successful Ghanaian firms, but a lot of them are multinational, and they tend to get attracted to this certification, the international one. Finally, professional certifications are simply demonstrations of commitment and to professional ethics. You belong to a professional body who you owe allegiance to. And so because they hold you to that high standard, it gives more confidence to the employer in dealing with you.
Great. Let's talk about the organizations or individuals that you have certified through your center.
Yeah. So HR Certification Center represents the global HR body, that is the HRCI, Human Resource Certification Institute. Arguably the largest HR body in the world, have been certifying for some 47 years now.
I see.
And have certified over 500,000 across the world, recognized virtually in every country. And we are the approved providers representing that body in Ghana. We have also run some 33 sessions. And so this is our 34th cohort we are preparing for. And thanks to Citi FM, you have contributed a lot to our success. These days, we do about 200 persons on quarterly intakes. And for our listeners, no fears, we don't put all the 200 into one class. They are divided to about 6 different, classes. And so we have run 33 cohorts, passed out close to 4,000 persons from various organizations. I mean, there are 30 banks in Ghana. About 19 of the 30 have had their HR certified with us. MTN, Talo Oil, the ministries, most organizations out there have certified their HR professionals, be it a private individual or company sponsored.
I see.
We had several organizations. We can't name them.
Great. Let's talk about the different HR certifications and their requirements.
Right, okay. So there are basically 3 levels of certification, and I'm going to start from the highest one, which is the Senior Professional Certification in Human Resource International. It's simply called the SPHRI, and that looks at HR at the very strategic and policy level.
Okay.
And so you must have a certain pedigree, if you may, to qualify to sit directly in the Senior Professional class. The requirement to sitting in that class is a master's degree or a first degree that comes with 4-year HR practice.
Okay.
If you have a business master's degree, for instance, an MBA, and you've been working for a while, whether in HR or not, once you have had experience of managing people or had people under you, but without a master's, then your first degree must necessarily come with 4-year practice in HR to qualify directly to sit directly in the senior professional charter class. Otherwise,
does the master's have to be? You mentioned MBA, so that's very specialized. But for somebody who does not possess a grounding in, say, a specific area, say like business, finance, that kind of thing, is there any other master's degree?
Yeah, generally we don't insist that you must have an HR background.
I see.
So you have a master's in, let's say, an MA or an MPhil in any other area, psychology or anything. We would look at your situation. Probably you have been practicing in an organization, you've been a supervisor or a senior officer, people have been under you, and that's what we call the people management experience, all right? So your master doesn't necessarily need to be a business degree, all right, to be in the senior class, but it must come with some experience. But like I mentioned, without a master's, if it's a bachelor's degree, then we insist that you must have an HR work experience to qualify for the senior charter. But quite below the senior charter is the regular professional charter, and that is also a stand-alone qualification. There are so many HRs out there who are chartered and not necessarily senior chartered. I normally liken it to lecturer and senior lecturer. I mean, we all teach. You don't really need to be a senior to be recognized as a teacher, all right? So to qualify for the regular professional charter, all you require is a first degree. in any field. French, psychology, political science, doesn't matter. Any first degree that comes with any 2-year work experience, whether your experience is in HR or not, you qualify to go straight into the professional level. Then the third one is the associate professional certification. Practically, if you don't qualify for the senior, you don't qualify for the regular. Any background you have, though we do not accept secondary school holders, but you have a diploma, an HND, with or without work experience, you can start from the associate certification. And it's interesting to note that we've had persons who had started from either the associate and then went into the professional, and finally they are now senior professionals, and a lot more people who started from professional and they are now senior. But if you qualify for the senior, you're automatically exempted from levels 1 and 2, and you go to the third one.
Great. So somebody's listening to us, they are interested, they want to sign up. What's the course structure like? What are they? What should they expect to come and learn, and how will the course play out?
Right, okay. So our course structure is quite very flexible and interesting. I can say that 98% of our participants or students are pure workers. I mean, some are very, very senior officers, HR directors, some are HR officers here and there. So we designed the course structure to suit them. First and foremost, it's a 6-month course, but you are taking tuition for the first 3 months. The second 3 months, you're only having an online support system, more or less like tutorials, a couple of seminars, mock exam, and we review the mock with you to be certain that you are good enough to pass the exam. But the first 3 months is the deal where you take tuition. We have the physical and the online option. Physical runs on Saturdays only, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And if you are signing up for the physical, the course center is the National Banking College, Airport Residential Area. We share the same premises with the National Banking College. Otherwise, you can also sign up for the online option, which runs on Sundays only, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now, the good thing is that much as you have the liberty to choose either of the two, you also have the liberty to switch in between the two options. So every weekend, you decide whether Saturday physical or Sunday suits your schedule for the weekend, because the content that is taught Saturday physical is same content taught Sunday online.
Great. So when is your next session taking off?
Yes, so our next cohort, which is the 34th batch, starts next month on the 11th, to be precise, 11th of March. And so registration and enrollment is ongoing now. And let me say that those who probably want to know more may want to sign up for our free online information session coming off this Saturday at 4 p.m. And all you need to have the links or the Zoom details to join the online session is to just WhatsApp your name to the number I'm about to give out. And that number is 0244 822 855. 0244 822 855. Just say hello with your name, and then we would share the fine details of the course 1. And number 2, if you wish to have more details, it's just about a 15-minute online session on Saturday to give more details for those who are in a dilemma as to whether they are signing up or not. Right. So that's about it. Right.
Okay. So they can get in touch on 0244 822 855.
Precisely.
That's how come they can get all the info. And you say the info session is this Saturday at 4 p.m.
Precisely. So
I see. Great. We wish you the very best in your 34th cohort. And for our listeners, like you heard, if you are in that space and you want to get professional certification, then get in touch with them on 0244 822 855, and then take part in the info session, sign up, and trust me, it will improve your working life. Doc, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Great. That was Dr. Jeff Bassey. He's country director for the Global Professional HR Certification. Like he said, you can contact 0244 822 855. There's still the Citi Breakfast Show. Your messages are welcome on 0549 986-996. 0549-986-996. Hashtag CityCBS. Get to us on Twitter at City973. Now, if you're planning your next adventure, remember, it's not just the destination, it's how you get there. And Emirates is ensuring that as you move from point A to point B, you get to enjoy everything in between. They've got great meals inspired by regional cuisine, and you get to enjoy great service from their world-class cabin crew. Wherever you decide to fly better on Emirates, and you get so much on Emirates economy. Find out more at emirates.com. Now, the Assemblies of God Ghana is about to take a turn like never before. Join them at the Grand Arena at the Accra International Conference Center on February 25 for the induction service of the newly elected General Superintendent, Reverend Dr. Stephen Yenusom Wengam, and the outdooring of the newly elected presbytery officers, Reverend Tito J and Dr. N.S. Obri Krang and Dr. Simon Abu Baba. And there's about to be a shift, growth, transformation as they plan to reach, rebuild, reform and restore, reposition and rebrand the Assemblies of God Ghana. And the Proverbs 11:14 says, where no counsel is, the people fall, but there's safety in the counsel of the multitude of counselors. Come, let us welcome and celebrate our new Assemblies of God leaders. This is the Citi Breakfast Show. We'll take a very, very quick break. When we come back, we'll give you some excerpts of yesterday's vetting of the Minister Designate for Agriculture, Bernard Avle. We'll serve you all of that and more right after this short break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Ajua, Grandma looked very peaceful. I was completely amazed when I saw her neatly presented. She looked just like she was sleeping.
You haven't seen anything yet, my brother. You should have seen the care and quality treatment they gave her at transitions. One man, one room, just like a 5-star hotel.
Wow.
And not only that, we had a dedicated person to guide the family through the funeral planning process.
Are you sure?
Of course. From picking her up to when we lowered Grandma down, everything was completely stress-free. They had all the needed funeral services, caskets, hearse, chapel, and so much more.
This one, dear, no family fights after all.
I'm so happy we made a right decision to use Transitions.
With Transitions, your loved one gets the best of care while the family enjoys a stress-free funeral planning process. Call us now on 0302-634-706. And no, did I tell you they are affordable? Transitions, the funeral people.
High sense, yet yes, as you talk, now so from the so yet din. Nesenti, Yasha Bibi Sunko cried, dear mamma. Yatuni Dean said, High sense super promo. Yanyaman buono, Yasa shini nebio. Impoya fasopo, a year free so, said your bayan faso, dear mount. Yakono first come, first serve, and Yamano sa, na sa, High sense super promo. Away showrooms in na. I will Ghana for na. I say, Hisense one amount 5 years manufacturer defect warranty. Ye never border from Chendia Kenina. A Chendia Kenina. Hisense, a Chendia Kenina. Nay a Papa Chendia Kenina. Kayo, everything 28 February, I call him 8 March. A Hisense super promo. Hisense, everyday prices for everyday people.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
Welcome back. This is still the Citi Breakfast Show. Like I said before the break, here are some excerpts of yesterday's vetting of the Minister Designate for Agriculture, Bernard Avle, beginning with a question from MP for Esunafo South, Eric Opoku.
All the agricultural resources needed for us to achieve food sufficiency. Unfortunately, we are unable to achieve that. And as we speak, we spend a whopping $2.4 billion annually to import food to supplement local production. This is creating unemployment, poverty among farmers, and all the associated ills. As you step into the ministry, can you share with the committee what programs you put in place to reduce the deficit, if not to eliminate it. Since my eminent nomination to the ministry, I've been doing some research about agric in Ghana, and I've been surprised myself that a country like Ghana, arable lands, active people, workforce, that we are not able to produce enough to feed ourselves. With the chairman, I found out that several factors contribute to this. One is the yield per hectare. Currently, for rice, we are crawling at around 3 metric tons per hectare, as compared to what they are doing right here in River State, 10 metric tons per hectare, and even in Thailand, around 5 to 6 metric tons per hectare. If you look at all the other areas, you realize that we don't have how as to attain the yields that we require. It's one area that I'm going to focus on if this committee do me the honors. And I'm going to push extensively the improved yield to farmers. Mr. Chairman, I'm not for import. But you realize that the agri sector in itself is not that attractive for our young people to get into. Primarily land tenure systems affecting large-scale agriculture, access to capital. I want to focus on that in the next 2 years as best as I can. Make it attractive for young people, make it attractive for people to go into farming. I also want to focus within these 2 years that, if you do me the honors, to look at large-scale agriculture. I know you are the chairman of the AGRIC, ranking member of the AGRIC committee. But I also don't see why, if Ghana consumes about 1.5 million metric tons of rice a year, that we are not able to produce 4.5 million metric tons of such, so that, I'm saying, Ghana consumes 1.5 million metric tons of rice. But I don't understand why we are not able to produce 4.5 million metric tons. 2, 1, for our own consumption. 2, for food resilience and buffer. And 3, for export. Because compared to our neighbors, we have perhaps the most arable land. So it's one major agenda that I have to see if I can push large-scale farming or lay the foundation for it within the able to serve them. Because every nation must have food buffer against emergencies. And so somewhere in 2011, when the National Food Buffer Stock Company was being established, one of the mandates given them was to maintain or keep strategic food stocks against emergencies. So that should there be any emergency, famine will not consume Ghanaians, will have something to lean on in terms of food. As we speak, since 2012, that an amount of 15 million Ghana cedis was advanced to the National Buffer Stock to support their operations. Not a peswa. Enable them play. We do not have a cup of grains stored anywhere against emergencies. Honorable Minister, what do you think must be done immediately to assure Ghanaians that should, in case of any emergency, the Ghana Buffer Stock will be ready to sustain us for at least some days to enable us find something else to do?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was surprised myself when I found out that
buffer stock is struggling, to the extent that they had the opportunity to feed the free SHS program. They have supplied quite a lot, but they are not getting payments on time. So beyond their initial seed capital, they are struggling in other areas. This is something that I will push to reverse immediately, that I get in. I know that these are hard times, but I will advocate strongly that as part of our national security, we need to ensure that buffer stock is positioned to deliver us when we get there. So, Ranking, be assured, I'm going to work with you to ensure that buffer stock is resourced to do what it's supposed to do. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, my last question. Honorable nominee, more cereals to reduce import of cereals into our country. The program was touted as one of the best to redeem our farmers from abject poverty. Looking at the state of agriculture, as you have read, you have already indicated, what has been the significant impact of this program on first food security and also the lives of our farmers?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Planting for Food and Jobs is a solid program that was conceptualized and implemented by this government. Rankin, you realize that on maize, we had, in 2016, our yield was about 1.6 metric tons per hectare. Today, the yield is around 4 metric tons. For rice,
Fitzy ahead, weather forecast a bit nippy ahead. Beggars can't choose, but be picky instead. 95 blues, kick me, I'm dead.
All right, so those were highlights of the vetting of Bernard Champong, Minister designated for Agric. He was being questioned by the ranking member on the Agri Committee, MP for Snafo South, Eric Boku. Happy birthday to Wendy Seram Choko, who is with SNIT. It's coming from myself and all the friends you have here at Citi, and also from the boys.
Friday, of course, my mind day. Rise and shine your eye.
Happy birthday, Wendy. Enjoy your day. Coming up next, City News at 10. Caleb Kuda is already here with the news. Good morning, Caleb.
Good morning, Bernard.